Alrighty. Gonna be live here in a moment. I'm gonna change that to loud chat. Check myself on the audio. Change that to loud chat. Check myself on the audio. It's kind of loud. Loud chat. Maybe check put this here. On the audio. It's kind of loud. Loud chat. Put it back here, maybe. Hello, 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 hello. That's the problem here. Hello, 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 hello. That's the problem here. Yeah. I'll just leave it out here. Just want to make sure it picks up correctly, because I hate when the noise gate doesn't grab it correctly. But what you gotta deal with. Let's see here. What am I even looking for? I'm looking for my channel. Duh. Oh boy. Hard to get to the thing I want. Okay. Live chat. Fantastic. Put that where it usually goes. Alright, I think we are about ready, don't y'all? Okay. Let me just make sure that we are good and drop frames and everything. Alright. We're about ready. Hey guys, here for the Rage here. Hope you're having a fantastic day, and welcome to a stream where I'm kind of going over this thread and in a broader context talking about something that I kind of glanced over in previous streams talking about films and such. There was a point, let's see, what was it? I think it was during the Quantum TV bullshit, where I used like half of a stream to just get some shit off my chest about, characters and skin color and this and that, in regards to like the Kenobi show, right? And Reva, and how that was a poorly written character, and her skin color was used as a shield so that Disney could be like, see, no, it's not actually bad. We didn't objectively make a terrible fucking character. No, it's fine. The writing's fine. Everyone who doesn't like it's just a racist because, and it was intentional. It was 100% intentional as to why they did that. But I came across this thread, and essentially I've been playing a lot of Guild Wars 2 lately, and this is relevant only to the fact that like I basically got off, and I was like, you know what, I felt good. I was like, you know what, I started a new character, got him up to a certain level. I'm like, all right, I'm kind of I don't want to go through the grind again. Not tonight. So I was like, all right, let me get off. And then I saw somebody had posted something in Discord about that. And let me actually turn this off real quick, just to be sure. Just be sure I don't accidentally click into it for some reason. Anyway, point being is my brain stopped. Anyway, point being, I saw they posted this thread, right? They had posted this thread, and they said, oh yeah, look, this is a great thread. And this is your typical thread about, screen adaptations and race swapping and all this. And I think this thread's ridiculous, because the worst part is that the person that posted this is making an excellent point in the worst way possible. Like, it is to sort of put this in a sort of contradictory sentence. This thread is entirely correct, but completely inaccurate. It's both at the same time. It is both right and wrong. And I think that's the important distinction, is that it's not simply what people are making it out to be on either side. It's not 100% that, oh yeah, you can't have this and this and this, right? But on the other side, it's not like, oh yeah, we can totally accept this and this and this and that. Like, both extremes of this are sort of taking a stance on it of like, oh no, this is what's in the lore and whatever, and it's immutable and yada yada. And I tend to lean more towards that camp in author's intent and how something has been established before in media and how we view it. And that's where I tend to lean more towards. However, I do understand the other side of the argument, which is, hey, it's fantasy, we can kind of tweak some things, but to me there is a limitation to that. To these people, there's no limitation at all, right? To what some people might consider the woke mob or whatever, like that crowd of people, the terminally online Twitter kind of people, to them it doesn't matter, because even if they are fans of the thing, they're fans of the thing for the sake of being a fan, and they don't care what the kind of content is that they get. They just care they get more content. And if that means the content is just radically changed from what we expect of the content, what we got of that content before, they're still happy with it. Prime example of this would be Call of Duty, right? Call of Duty, quote unquote, fans, right? Fanboys, rather. But it's a type of person that's like year after year they'll buy Call of Duty. They'll say it's shit. They'll think it's terrible. I got out of that years ago. I was like, you know what, COD shit. I'm on PC now, where COD was even more shit before Warzone on PC, and Warzone's fucking hot garbage. Even the people that play Warzone, like Call of Duty is the ultimate form of like Stockholm syndrome, I guess, for gamers, because they essentially can't get that arcadey shooter fix anywhere else, so they stick with it, and no matter what comes down the pipeline, they play it regardless. Even the lowest ranked Call of Duty, which was, I think, Infinite Warfare technically, and it was like the worst sales ever. The second that broke even and still made some money, it was like, all right, if the worst COD in all of COD history, right? Now, not gameplay wise, but sales wise, it was the worst. People didn't want it, people didn't like it, people didn't buy it, and yet it still made enough money to keep going, and it didn't crash the franchise, and then went into World War II, and World War II was even worse than Infinite Warfare. And it's like, damn, if that can't mess it up, right? It like the people that will stick with it in the darkest of times for content and keep giving money to these things and keep, defending these IPs. That's the kind of shit that's just like, okay, now you're getting a little ridiculous. So to me, I fall somewhere. I would say I am more in the camp of author's intent and what has been established in media, in the books, whatever, before for a character. But I can allow some adaptation when going to the screen because some things don't work, as long as the adaptation has a point and it takes advantage of something, and it's not an arbitrary change or what someone might think is a necessary redress of balance, as the fucking as the sister dwarf on fucking Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power wants to say. Oy. I've seen so many interviews of her with that, that regurgitating that line. I hate that line. Necessary redress of balance. Balance. Fuck off. But no, it's when you do something arbitrarily. That's when I have a problem with it. So this thread, let's go over it, and I just want to get that out there as to what the situation is and why I think this calls for a more nuanced conversation rather than just, oh, the thread is wrong, right? Because it's not technically wrong, but it's still kind of wrong. So, basically, they start the thread by mentioning Game of Thrones, right? Peter Dinklage playing Tyrion Lannister, and the only reason I even know that is because, A, I love Peter Dinklage, he's a great actor, and B, people won't shut the hell up about Game of Thrones. So even though I haven't seen it, it's still, it's, yeah. Anyway, point being, they start with Tyrion Lannister, right? And this is, how many thread? God, there's a lot of examples, and then we get to the meat and potatoes down here where they go on their own crusade of anti-bigot, anti-racist, whatever the fuck. So we get to the actual thing they wanted to say, but they were setting it up with examples, which is fine if you want to start a thread that way. And that's fine. I like to get a little into it sooner if I make a thread, But I haven't been on Twitter in forever anyway. As you can see, the notifications are still the same. I'm not on here. And they start with Tyrion Lannister, right? So it starts, interestingly enough, with Tyrion Lannister. Okay, so they say that Tyrion Lannister was specifically described as one green eye and one black eye, one green eye and one black one. Okay, peered out from under a lank fall of hair, so blonde it seemed white. Okay, so that's like a platinum blonde. Okay, interesting. So, and that's a quotation, I guess, from the book Game of Thrones, right? The Game of Thrones book series. So there was no outcry when he showed up in the show looking like this. Okay. In the case of Tyrion Lannister, in the case of Peter Dinklage, the reason there was not a giant outcry was because, one, his entire skin color wasn't changed, right? That's one element, is Well, he's still a white guy. He just happens to be a dwarf now, right? And and then also Guillermo del Toro was working closely with the showrunners, and at at the point where they started the show, right now I realize they kind of went off the rails because he hadn't finished the book because he's a fucking I don't know what Guillermo or not Guillermo del Toro. I'm sorry, that is not the guy. That is I confuse Guillermo del Toro with what's his fucking name? The guy who wants to be J.R.R. Tolkien, but he can't even finish his own books. What the fuck is his name? It's like it's like the same name as yeah, George R.R. Martin. Yeah, okay, but I confuse him because see, you look at him, right, and I this is why my brain. I swear to God, I know these are two different people, but look at this. This is him. Then we look at Guillermo del Toro. Like, look, it's the glasses are the major difference. Actually, wait, they both wear glasses, but really the only difference is he's trying to look like a sea captain for some reason with a little flat cap. I don't know why. And then you've got Guillermo del Toro, which he's great too. But the like you guys see it, right? It's the facial hair, the glasses. My brain is like they both start with G, right? Guillermo's with a G, not a Q. I don't know. Point being, George R. R. Martin wrote the books, and George R. R. Martin worked with the guys that I think it was HBO or whatever that did it, and when they did the adaptation for the show, he was working with them. So if there was a problem between the author and the studio, right, and the studio rights, I'm sure George R. R. Martin would have stepped up and said, "Hey, I don't want that to be Peter Dinklage." Knowing George R. R. Martin and how off the wall he gets, I don't doubt that it was probably his idea for it to be Peter Dinklage. And that's another thing with George R. R. Martin is his work is shifting constantly. He's got like scatterbrain, from what I understand. He just kind of jumps around this shit and starts tweaking things and mixing things, and that's good for the creative juices. And so I think when it comes to the screen adaptations of things, you can change something if you are the author. If you are the author or you are the showrunner and you have the author's consent to change something, okay, fair enough, right? That's the big thing here. But okay, I can see their point here that he's now a midget with the eyes aren't right, whatever, right? Okay, but really, when it comes to it, the biggest departure here is that he's but here's the thing with Peter Dinklage is Tyrion Lannister, Tyrion Lannister. See, that's the thing. I don't know. I'll have to look it up. How tall is he actually in the books? So he is 4'1". He is, yeah. George said Peter's taller than Book Tyrion. So this is the thing, right? This is the thing. Is I guess the character himself is short. Okay. So the reason. So that kind of starts to invalidate the argument, because when you look into the lore and the canon and what's been established, the only things that really changed here was his hair is still blonde, it's just not platinum blonde. Probably because they tried that, they tried tests before they started shooting, and they were like, Peter, I don't know, it's just not working. The platinum blonde thing not working. Let's go a few shades into the yellow spectrum, right? Let's try that. And so they got it pretty close here. And as somebody that has a the gingers in the family, my mom is a redhead, my uncle, my aunt, right? My uncle married a fellow ginger. It's so funny that they just sort of did that. And it's so I'm very used to seeing light hair, right? My grandpa, he had no hair, right, because he was old. But he had a little bit of a beard, and sometimes it would come in and you would see it's kind of red, right? It's very light. And so I'm fully aware. My brother has blonde hair that's gotten darker over the years, but it's always been blonde, and it's... Anyway, point being that when you look at it, you still understand that this is blonde. And look at the way the light is hitting it, right? You could still get close to saying it seemed white. If the light hits that just right, if it's in a bright enough environment, maybe standing on a balcony, sun blowing out his face, just overexposed, yeah, you could see that as being, possibly kind of whitish hair in the right lighting. Now, I'll still give you it was not the platinum blonde that's clearly described here, right? and a lank. I don't know what a lank is, but I feel like the hair like width is correct. And then okay, the one thing you can say they definitely changed was one green eye, one black eye. Okay, so what does that mean? So I assume that means that he's supposed to have green eyes naturally, right? The character Tyrion Lannister is supposed to have natural green eyes, and one of them is probably fucked up and it's like black and septic or something, right? Or has some sort of sepsis, or I don't know the medical terms. I don't know. I hear sepsis and I think fucked up eyeball. But the point being is okay. I could see that, but practically speaking, are you really gonna have Peter Dinklage every time putting in a friggin' contact lens? That's actually a little dangerous. Cosmetic contact lenses are very dangerous. But okay, I can see that. But see how if we look into it, the argument starts to fall apart. Is when you really analyze, well, how close is the character? It's pretty close. Pretty close. That's why people weren't angry, because it was close enough. It's not about being perfect every time. It's about respecting where it came from and getting it close enough. And also, it's Peter Dinklage. People love Peter Dinklage because he's a great actor. So even if something has changed, people overlook it because they're paying attention to the performance. They're not paying attention to the surface level visual of the thing. Okay, but no. So they have a point, and this is why I said this thread is entirely correct but completely wrong at the same time. That's why, because is it technically correct? Yes. Is it still wrong because it's not making the point it thinks it's making? Yes. And I say it as in the thread itself being an entity, not the person behind the thread. But no, the person making the thread, are they making that point correctly? I don't think so. I don't think they're making the point that they actually want to make, or they think they're making that point. But when you look at it in a different perspective or from a different lens, it's like, are you really living up to the potential of this thread? And is this what you actually want to say? Right? How easy is it for someone to tear apart your argument? So here's another one. They say that in the Harry Potter books, Ron is tall as the twins. Okay, fair enough. Harry had green eyes and messy hair. Okay. Again, with the eyes thing and the messy hair. I mean, he does have some pretty messy hair. You gotta admit. In the films, fucking Harry's hair is very... It tends to get a little bedhead, right? I'll give you that one. So let's see. Hermione has noticeably large teeth. Okay. All mentioned several times and act as plot points. Do they? Because I watched the films, and I can't think of the situation where Ron being tall or Hermione having big teeth would serve as plot points. Like I can't think of any scene from the what was it, 8 movies? I think they did like every book had its own movie. So I can't think of a moment in the films that I can recall that had anything to do with, Ron being tall or Hermione having buck teeth. Big deal. Right? The movie, average height Ron, well, that's because the actor is the actor's height, and they wanted that actor specifically. So that's where you have to make the decision of, do we make the movie with this actor because we like the way they perform, or do we remain faithful to the source material? And again, J.K. Rowling, creator of the Harry Potter series, gave WB the film rights, was probably asked a lot, like, hey, is this cool? What can we change? What can we not change? And as long as they're being consulted with, and as long as J.K. Rowling looks at it and says, oh, the whole thing about him being tall, it's nice for the book, but doesn't really play well here. There is so much, when you look at, like, The Lord of the Rings, right? There is so much that had to be cut for time and entertainment's sake in the Peter Jackson trilogy, because if you wanted to do the entirety of Lord of the Rings, the entirety of the Lord of the Rings books, half of that shit is just... Like, I think there's, like, a whole section, if I remember correctly. And again, I have not read the books, because I never had access to them. However, I know the films like the back of my hand. And I understand that there are a lot of things from the books that are not in the films, but that doesn't bring the films down. The films are fine. But because they hit all the major points, and have all the major character moments, right? The point that I'm getting at is I think there's, like, certain instances in the book where, like, Tolkien would spend, like, pages and pages world building or having just a simple conversation for, like, 10 pages straight. And I don't know if you guys know this, but when you're making a screenplay, screenplays only tend to be about 120 pages at most, because mainly because every page of a screenplay has dialogue, it has setting, it has whatever, and you try to condense it, and basically the average or the rule of thumb is supposed to be that every page is approximate to 1 minute of screen time, or it averages out that way. Um, and so you have to condense some things, and some things you can throw away. Filmmakers themselves do this even when they have an original idea, even when they have something completely original, not based on anything, they just make something up, right? Even then, on the editing floor, for time purposes, they have to cut things out. This is a technique known as killing your darlings, or a concept, not really a technique, but it's a concept known as killing your darlings, and that's where the director sits down with the editor and they look at it and they go, okay, what is the fun stuff that I, as the director, love and would like to be in the movie, but it's at the bottom of the list, it's lowest priority, and if you can remove it, right? If you have to remove something for time constraints, and you can remove a section without harming the overall narrative, you remove that section. The extended editions of the Lord of the Rings films are a prime example of this. There's a moment where we see Merry and Pippin after the Battle of Isengard, where they find Saruman's stockroom of food and like weed, basically pot. Like, I'm not sure what that is. I'm not sure. Like, they're always smoking some sort of tobacco, right? And I it's heavily implied it's some sort of drug, right? Or like it makes people feel really good. It's just a really good whatever they're putting in their pipes. It's I believe they refer to it as pipe weed. So it's like it's. But the point being is they find the storeroom and they're having a laugh and they're picking up all the food and whatever. And that's before we get to the cut later of Gimli and Gandalf and company, right? Arriving at Isengard, and they see them on the top of the thing, and they're smoking and they're eating pork and whatever. That moment's in the film. The storeroom moment was removed from the theatrical release. It's not in there because it's just extra fluff. And when you watch the movie, you can feel the cadence get fucked up. There's a whole section, guys. There's a whole section of what is it? What's the last film? There's Return of the King. That's the last one. Return of the King. Black Gate Tower. Let's see. What is because there's a version where Aragorn actually spars, with this guy. Well, spars, not physically. He does, I think, cut his head off. But there's a moment where this would actually be a good image to use. I had this happen the other day. God damn it. Yeah, the 10th Nazgul, yada 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 yada, the tower, blah blah blah. Okay, yeah, whatever. We'll just use this one. So if anybody's played the Shadow of Mordor games, there's Shadow of Mordor and what's the other one? War of Mordor, or some shit. There's two. There's two in the series, and I think they're not doing a third one. But basically, there's a character known as the Tower, which he grafts armor and stuff onto him, and that's from the book. And this apparently is that character, or and this was fully done. This was, and the CGI was not perfected yet. The cleanup team hadn't gone in and done everything because it hadn't gone to print. It actually didn't make it to print. It got killed on the cutting room floor because we had to kill it for the theatrical release, and it's just an extra scene that doesn't really help anything. But this guy comes out at the Black Gate, and Aragorn, as you can see here, you have Aragorn, you have that should be Merry. Hold on, Merry and Pippin. Yeah, this is Merry. So Merry's riding on the back of the horse, which would make this I think the king or somebody. I don't know. Somebody's the hobbits here with him, basically. And so here he comes out. They have this back and forth, and you can tell that the dialogue is very much from the book, right? So here's Aragorn talking to the what's his name, the Mouth of Sauron or whatever the fuck. Yeah, this guy. So it's an interesting scene, but you can completely cut it. It doesn't act. It actually hinders the pacing of the film because it's a superfluous dialogue moment, and we don't need it. right? We just need Aragorn at the last stand of the Black Gate, right? He's charging the Black Gate, for Frodo. That's the moment we're trying to get to. We actually don't need him to talk to this guy. That slows the pacing, right? So you guys can see how an adaptation can actually make, it can condense story and be like, okay, what parts do we actually need, right? Because when you make a film, you only have so much time in a theater, right? And even on a streaming service, nobody wants to be sitting through 5 hours of one movie. Now, there are certain movies that I would totally do that for. Lord of the Rings being one of them. If you give me a 5-hour cut, I'll take a 5-hour cut. But the point being is, sometimes you just got to get the story over with. And that's completely okay to change things that are completely superfluous. Ron being tall, fucking Harry's eyes, and Hermione's fucking teeth. Alright, and big fucking deal. There's a lot of things from the book that didn't carry over to the films. Did that make the films worse? Maybe to somebody who read the book, but as somebody who did not read the Harry Potter novels, I watched the movie, I still got all the major plot points from the books, and I still had a good time watching the movie. And that is the point at the end of the day, is to make the thing entertaining, keep all the major things intact, and present it in, a well-acted, well-performed way. Okay, cool, great. So, so again, the Harry Potter thing, that's kind of a weak angle, right? So then Princess Bride, right? In the books, Vizzini, again, I have not seen Princess Bride. I haven't read the books. I haven't even seen the movie. I know the movie from memes. That's it. But this guy, played by, it's not Gilbert Gottfried. It's the other guy. I don't remember his name. But yeah, Vizzini is described as having a near angelic face. And in the movie, he looks like this. Okay. All right. So what is near angelic? What would you describe near angelic is, right? Near angelic. So if we're going by angelic, then are we using angelic to mean exceedingly beautiful, right? And handsome? Or are we using it in the biblical sense? Because angelic, or, being an angel in the Old Testament literal sense from the Bible, makes you an otherworldly abomination, right? So, it depends on what version you're using. But I could see their point here of like, okay, somebody who was handsome or not. But the question is, does it affect the story? How does it affect the story? Are you getting the same major plot points across with an interesting change to a character that doesn't really hinder the story? It could boost the story potentially in a different version, but it might also, you guys see what I'm saying, is the question is not, should you be allowed to change something? The question is, do you need to? If you need to, by all means. But most of the changes tend to be arbitrary, right? And it's fine so long as the arbitrary change is not focused on. That's the problem we're having now, is that the arbitrary changes to characters, the superficial surface level stuff, is taking precedent over the story. Why? Because when they do these things, the story's always shit. It's always bad. That's why they do the arbitrary changes, because they don't care about the story. They just care about having some sort of defense, right? And being like, oh, if you don't like it, then you're this ist or this phobe or whatever, right? So then the Hunger Games books, right? So this is interesting, because this is Woody Harrelson. Woody Harrelson? Yeah, could be. Yeah, that's him. Woody Harrelson. So Woody Harrelson plays this guy in the Hunger Games. Again, didn't read the books, watched the movies. And even then, the movies were kind of so I don't know about the books, but the movies, they kind of got weird by the third one. It was just kind of a weird ending. But in the Hunger Games books, Haymitch is described as paunchy with curly dark hair. Okay, what is paunchy? Right? What? So now we have to wonder, what the hell does paunchy mean? Paunchy is having a large or protruding belly. Okay, so he's fat. That looking like a belly to me. You guys can see that, right? That looked like a belly down there. I don't know. He got a little bit of a tummy, right? And again, does he need it? Does he need that, right? Do we need to do that to the character? Okay. And then, movie Haymitch, he's blonde and slim. No one minded. Okay. I'll give you this one, right? Why did they give him blonde hair? I personally thought Woody Harrelson... To me, Woody Harrelson looks weird with any hair, especially blonde hair. It's just so... I don't know, there's something about it. There's just something about it. But that's what it is. So, can what can we say about Haymitch, right? The point of Haymitch's character, it doesn't matter if he's fat with curly blonde or with curly dark hair. The point is that he is a reluctant winner with trauma from the previous games who, is an alcoholic and he doesn't give a shit and he's aloof, you know, and that's the point. Is he starts as that and then he grows and he realizes, okay, look, I have to keep these kids alive, so I'm gonna be a good I gotta try and be a good mentor and keep, because nobody did it for me, but I gotta do it for them. Okay. That's what I got from the character of Haymitch. And not once was I thinking, oh, his hair color is weird, right? I thought that when I first saw him because again, Woody Harrelson with hair is just to me it's a weird. Ironically, because his last name has hair in it, but the point being is any initial you know focus you have on the aesthetic of a character, it, that that should be going away after like 5 seconds with the character. Like, unless you're like Quasimodo in The Hunchback of Notre Dame, in which case, yes, the aesthetic of the character is very much the fucking point. But in something like this, how the character looks should immediately go out of your mind. It should be like, oh, that's an interesting character design, and then they start talking, and then they get into the narrative, and then they get into all this, stuff about their character and who they are as a person, and not that they're exposition upping, but that they start being a part of the crew and part of this group of people you already know, and so they're latching onto that, and so now they're another character in it, and you're focusing on their performance, and you're focusing on the story. Again, the modern shit like Rings of Power has a terrible story and has terrible characters. So what ends up happening is that people can't even attempt to overlook the bullshit with changing character skin colors arbitrarily because we don't have anything else to focus on. The writing is shit, the casting is shit, and the design choices are shit. So if all of it's shit, what am I supposed to give you credit for? The only thing I've heard from Rings of Power that's decent is that, and again, I'm not watching it. It's not on my screen. I don't care. I've said it a million times. It will not. I will not look at it. But the point being is, if that's the thing to focus on, right? What the hell am I supposed to focus on? You want me to focus on a good story? You write a good story, okay? And then you know what? You know how the conversation changes. It goes from all of this is terrible to, well, I don't like that they race swap the hobbits, but I really do like the characters. Magical. I've heard things like that about the Sandman, right? Which is actually mentioned in this thread. But from the Sandman, I've actually heard that it's good, surprisingly. Because I remember when it came out that Neil Gaiman, the creator of the Sandman comics, was, completely race swapping a character, and then another character was being, changed to be someone else entirely or something. And I was like, oh, here we go, and I had the initial reaction. But I'm starting to warm to the idea that maybe I should give Sandman a try, because I have seen some interesting clips here or there. The character designs are kind of interesting. But to me, it's like, oh god, they race swapped him. That must mean the story is getting fucked with, right? Do we not remember Cowboy Bebop? Do we not remember how bad that was? Nobody wanted to watch it. It was immediately canceled. It was canceled. Shit, I don't even think it was canceled after a season. I think it was canceled after one episode. I think they aired one episode of it, and it was gone, right? It was over immediately. But, and that's the thing, is it takes away from it, right? So then, now we start getting into the real important, the I'm going to call you a racist moment of the thread. So, in the books, Tolkien describes the Harfoots as being browner of skin. Makes sense, because they're outside, under the sun, so they'll have a tan. My brother is the whitest sumbitch you know, okay? If you left him inside for 3 months, he would get very, very white. However, he works outside all day, in the sun. He's very, very tan, right? He is almost like, if it wasn't for his redneck accent and his friggin' blonde hair, you would swear this dude could be, Pablo, right? You give him the dark hair, you would mistake him for a Hispanic man because of the skin color. It can get that dark, but you can still tell it's kind of fried. right? It's fried from the sun rather than being, But the point being is that browner of skin does not, and I will say this, objectively speaking, saying someone has browner skin does not mean they have brown skin. Differences here. Browner of skin, meaning he's comparing it to another type of skin, probably the skin of other humans, right? Okay, so if we compare it to humans, the humans we see in that world are very white. So if you say browner of skin, that does not mean they immediately go to Larry Henry, Lenny Harry, whatever the fuck his name is, something like that. Larry, something. I don't know. Big UK fucking actor, apparently. But point being is, it doesn't immediately go to this, right? Okay. Now, if you look at this, they got the rosy cheeks, they're pretty pale, but that's okay because the hobbits we saw before were like that. We already have established the filmic look of the Hobbit, right? I mean, these are just gender swapped, Frodo and Sam. This is not Frodo and this is not Sam. Like, we know that. We get it. Like, and again, they're not Harfoots, they're hobbits, right? Harfoots are browner of skin than hobbits. Except, this is where you're wrong. Because Harfoots are an offshoot of hobbits. So what Tolkien is saying when he says that he's browner of skin, it does not mean black. It means tan. Should they have had their actors tan a little more for this role? Absolutely. Right? Absolutely. Because this is too white. It's too perfect, right? It's too clean. And then if we compare it to Frodo, right? If we look at, like, Frodo, for instance, and we see this. Now, and again, you look at it and it's like, oh, he's very pale, right? And that's what happens when you literally live your life underground in ideal shit, right? Because hobbits live underground, where they don't get a lot of sunlight into their homes. They go outside, yes. They sit outside, yes. But this was the filmic look that was chosen. These were the actors chosen to portray the characters, right? Did anyone care at the time that the hobbits weren't brown? No. No one gave a shit. Why? The acting was good, the character design was good, so we overlooked it. We were like, you know what? Okay, technically in the book, but even then, these are hobbits. Hobbit. Specifically, the main brand of short person in Tolkien's world is a hobbit, right? That's the unique thing. It's a hobbit, it's a halfling, it's a shire folk, right? As what is it? As fucking Mary said to Treebeard, we're halflings, but the point being is these are hobbits. Harfoots are an offshoot of hobbit. Brown of skin just means that, yeah, they're probably a little more tan. That's about all that probably means. Okay? Because if Tolkien wanted to say they were black, he would say they were black. They were brown skinned. He would not say browner of skin. He's comparing them to the hobbits. He's saying that, yeah, they're still. So what he's saying is, yeah, they're still white, but they got a decent tan. That's what Tolkien is saying here. So this is just twisting what Tolkien's saying to try to justify a casting of this. Which, again, I am not against. I'm against the inconsistency that there is, like, a couple of black hobbits in all of the hobbits, Harfoot, whatever. They're hobbits, Amazon. They're fucking hobbits. You thought you were clever with some legal loophole. No. I hope the Tolkien Society comes in and says, fuck you, these are hobbits. We're shutting you down. Because, legally speaking, you were not allowed to use hobbits. Because hobbits aren't in that fucking story. Fucking crammed them in by calling them Harfoots, and I don't know why, because, again, hobbits did nothing. Hobbits, including Harfoots, because Harfoots are an offshoot of Hobbit, they did nothing significant until the Third Age. Anything in here is a complete lie. And this is where we start talking about the story. Okay? The story's crap. That's why they did this to the hobbits. That's why they did it to the dwarf queen. That's why they did it to the Queen of Numenor. That's why they did it to the elf. They got friggin' fantasy minority bingo. They have, like, what, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, they got a full-on 4 stack of they've got a black hobbit, a black dwarf, a black elf, and a black human. I'm trying to think if there's anyone I'm forgetting. Dwarf, elf, hobbit, human. Yeah, that's the 4 races of Middle Earth. They literally put a token minority character into every one of the major in every one of the major like cliques of people so that they'd always be around. We have an elf. Oh my god, so funny. It's just so funny that like it's so blatant how that's like I don't know. Point being, back to the thread. Okay. Off of that. So let me finish this here. Here are 2 screenshots of Harfoots in the News Power Show. Guess which one people are mad about. Yeah, people are mad about this. Why? It doesn't make any sense. Browner of skin does not mean black. Also, what the fuck is up with his hair? Like, look at their hair. Their hair looks like this. Why does his hair look like this? What? Why is his hair like this? Wouldn't his hair be styled similar to the other hobbits? Because when you look at the other hobbits, they all kind of have the same thing going on. You would think, but I guess not. Anyway, so that's why people are mad. People are mad because it doesn't say brown skin. It says browner of skin compared to hobbits. It just means the Harfoots are supposed to have a tan. Like, hello? And again, this is why I say, are they making a good point? Maybe. But that point doesn't matter because they're not using correct evidence to make that point, right? So this is actually an interesting one that I had not heard about, right? That I was not aware of, right? So in the Hunger Games book, Rue is described as having dark brown skin and eyes. Okay, fair, right? Who wrote the Hunger Games? Who wrote that? I'm blanking on the name here. Susan Collins. So Susan Collins wrote that. So Susan Collins wrote it. Susan Collins in the book said dark brown skin for Rue. This is, the character of Rue, right? Dark brown skin, dark brown eyes. Great. Perfect casting. Excuse me. When a black actress was cast to play a canonically black character, there was enough of an outcry to make several news headlines. Now, just because there is a headline about it does not mean it was some gigantic scandal. I remember when The Hunger Games was coming out. I do not remember hearing anything about Rue's character. I had no idea who the Rue character was. I actually kind of found her to be sort of... She had a point as a martyr, but she had really no agency other than... Like she was cannon fodder. And in the most literal sense, because when you die in the Hunger Games, they shoot off a big cannon. But the... But okay, I can give you this one. Because anyone upset at this choice is a fucking racist and a moron. The problem is that you're including this in a thread where you're trying to make all these other things that are arbitrary changes when the main aesthetic of the character is still pretty much intact, but they're taking minor little changes, right? You're putting it next to that because you're trying to give it you're trying to give your argument some sort of legitimacy, right? So this is a legitimate problem, right? This is racism. To say that a character who is canonically, according to the lore, absolutely written down, fact from the author, is supposed to look like this. If you are against the screen adaptation looking exactly as the way the writer described it, then yes, you are being, like 1-to-1, dark brown skin, dark brown eyes. Perfect casting. If you're against that, you're fucking racist. Simple as that. You're correct in this. The problem is you're putting it next to these, and I see right through your bullshit. You're trying to compare it. You're linking a real problem, right? Which I don't know the real scope of Rue being a problem and having the controversy around that at the time of the movie coming out. Because again, I don't remember that being a problem. But okay, maybe enough people were upset. Anyone upset by it should rightly be looked at like you're a fucking idiot, right? Because that's what the author said. The author wrote it as looking like this, therefore it looks like this. Okay. But this is also hilarious because they're going from, fucking, it's fine to we have to listen to the words of the author. Well, the words of the author in here is dark brown skin, dark brown eyes, which is correct. Here, Tolkien is saying browner of skin compared to hobbits. Not meaning black. Does not mean this. Not this. It means tan. It's obviously meaning tan. Okay? So, again, these are, conflicting with each other, right? But again, they tack this on here to show that it's, a real thing. So, Then we get down to them talking about Sandman, right? Neil Gaiman's Sandman comic, right? All that. So ever since the release of Sandman, Neil Gaiman, the author, who has refused any retelling of the Sandman until he was absolutely certain it could be told according to his vision. Okay, fair. Has been battling racist, sexist, transphobic trolls who directly disagree with his vision. Okay. I remember this being a problem. A lot of people getting up in arms about it. I myself took one look at him recasting Death, and I was like, you know what? It's one of those instances where is the author allowed to do that? Absolutely. That is fully within their creative control to do so. However, there's times when a creator of a work can be wrong on something. There can be something that doesn't make any sense to do, right? Famously, George Lucas. Who shot first? That's a question that anyone who's watching this, I would hope you know that question and where that question comes from. But the question is, who shot first? Han Solo or Greedo? Now, canonically, according to the film, and I wrote a paper on this, by the way. I literally wrote a paper for a film class on this, so I know what I'm talking about. I did research into, was there another print, and was there an extra screenplay, and was it supposed to be that way? So yeah, I know what I'm talking about. But George Lucas, retroactively, years later, I think it was for the 20th anniversary of, Phantom Menace was about to come out, and they did this, like, redo box set, like, digital upgrade type stuff, they moved it to DVD, etc., for the original trilogy, right? Episodes 4, 5, and 6. And in episode 4, right, we see Han Solo and Greedo. The canonical version is that Han is not stupid, and he shoots Greedo. This has a reason to it, right? Because of what we know of Han as a character, etc., George went in and decided, no, you know what? I want to go back because some people told me that it just looks like Han's, being a murderer in that scene. So I'm going to go back, retroactively edit it with terrible pacing, mind you. The pacing of it just doesn't fit because the scene is too fast, right? Han shoots too fast for it to make any sense. But he just retroactively put Greedo shooting at Han at the same time. So it's like, okay, now it looks more like self-defense. It was already self-defense. But that's an instance where the author can actually be wrong in some way, right? You can argue that, no, they are wrong about that. And so in Neil Gaiman's case, right, with the whole Sandman debacle, is he changed Death. Death was a pale goth aesthetic, right? In like, when I say pale, I mean literally white as a ghost. And then in the Sandman Netflix adaptation, he decided to make her black. No fucking idea why. Apparently still has the goth aesthetic, but now just a black chick. Okay. And again, I looked at that, and my brain immediately went, oh, story must suck because now he's putting that in it. Bye-bye. And it's not a racist thing. It's just that it's a pattern thing. Every time I see them make an arbitrary change like that, I'm thinking the story must be getting fucked with, and it must be getting changed, and it's a bad story. Because they're going to use that to cover it, right? Now, they might have a point here with Sandman, racist and sexist and transphobic, right? The trifecta right here. Goddamn. Ding, ding, ding. Fucking bingo. There's all three of them. But these were actual tweets from Gaiman. I remember seeing him tweet these. I give all the fucks about the work. I spent 30 years successfully battling bad movies of Sandman. Okay. So he cares about a vision. Got it. I give zero fucks about people who don't understand or haven't read Sandman whining about a non-binary Desiree or that death isn't white enough. Watch the show, make up your minds. See, this last sentence, that's all it would have taken, Gaiman. Alright? Alright, Neil? Alright? You hear me? Watch the show, make up your minds, right? I don't care, about people who don't understand or haven't read Sandman. Well, you should probably not expect that to translate into people actually watching the show favorably or people buying your book. Because if people, you're pissing off the audience, Neil. And again, he would probably say something to the effect of, oh, I don't want their money anyway. Well, you can say that when you have a ton of sales from other people to back you up. And when you don't have those sales, suddenly things start to change, don't they? Except if you're Marvel or whatever, you'll run your company into the ground writing shit that people don't buy and intentionally tokenizing people. Like, God, the fucking Miles Morales, as Thor, but they made it super cringy. Oh my God. That was so funny when that came out. So funny to look at. And again, I didn't read or anything. It's just the concept is hilarious. So again, watch the show, make up your minds. That's all that should have been said here, right? You could have cut this thing about people whining and been like, he's clearly responding directly to someone. But just say, watch the show, make up your own mind. That is how somebody defends their work. Why? You give somebody enough rope to hang themselves with. You say, hey, my thing's good. My story's great. I'm not even going to get into the conversation of why I changed this character's aesthetic. Because it doesn't matter. Because my story is just that fucking good. Go check it out for yourself. I'm done. Bye. Go watch it on your own time. I already did all the work making it. It's on you to go check it out and see if you like the story or not. I'm not talking, and just don't engage. Just don't engage with all this shit of like, oh, well, fucking, this character is wrong skin color. Like, all right, story's good. Go watch it. Simple. Just be like, hey, look, that has nothing to do with story. Just go watch it. All right, cool. Simple. Just watch the show, make up your own mind. That's the one sentence he needed here. But again, he got emotional. He put all this other crap in it. You really didn't need to. And again, I don't blame Neil. Twitter does that to a motherfucker. Like, your brain will get fucked with. Okay, so let's see. It is very obvious what Lucifer was supposed to be. You can like a change without acting like it wasn't changed. Okay, interesting. Dude, it's gonna hurt, but David Bowie's dead. Yeah. We knew he wasn't available to play Lucifer any longer. That's why we cast Gwendolyn Christie. And again, this is a gender swap, I think, where Lucifer in the book is a man, which, yeah, in all tellings of basically everything, Lucifer has been a guy. There's a couple of instances where they intentionally, in the original, have gender swapped it or race swapped it or whatever. Like, they've made that sort of alteration to sort of throw people off and be like, aha, but what if this? But I mean, you look at something like the show Lucifer. I mean, that's basically what I would expect, like a down-to-earth Satan to be like. But but this guy does have a point, though. He, look at it. It's like, okay, he looks like David Bowie. So this bullshit, but this bullshit of like, oh, he wasn't available. We cast Gwendolyn Christie. No, wrong. Elvis Presley ain't alive, but they still found a guy that looked enough like Elvis Presley to play Elvis Presley in the Elvis movie that just came out, and he was fantastic. I actually liked the movie a lot. It was a pretty nice movie. Wasn't super stellar, amazing, great, but it was nice. 8 out of 10, easy. Like an easy 8 out of 10. Definitely go watch it. It's fun, especially what they do with like some of the graphic stuff. Graphic as in like visual art, right? So like they do a lot of these weird, crazy shots and metaphorical things of like the montages and buckles and sweeps and all sorts. It's really cool shit. It's really cool shit. I don't want to ruin it for you guys. I want you to see it for yourself. So just go watch the Elvis movie. It's actually really good. But no. So this argument doesn't even make any sense, Neil. Like this shit doesn't even make any sense to me. Oh well, the person I clearly based it on is dead, so therefore I couldn't cast them. It's like, well, yeah, but you could cast them. You could have cast Andrew Garfield for this. Like Andrew Garfield with the slick back hair. Yeah, absolutely. Shit, we look at Andrew Garfield in Hacksaw Ridge. He did fantastic in Hacksaw Ridge, by the way. If you guys haven't seen Hacksaw Ridge, fucking Andrew Garfield's amazing. It's based on the true story of a pacifist in World War II. And when I say pacifist, I mean literally he didn't even want to touch a weapon. He would never hold a gun. Like he almost got kicked out of the military because of that. Now he wanted to help, but he also was not going to ever kill anybody. So he signed up just to be a medic, and that's it. As you can see here. But you look at this. I mean, you look at him with the hair, the face. Like let's look at this, shall we? Let's look at this. Let's open this. Too small. God damn it. I hate when that happens. I really hate when that happens. Can I get a bigger picture? Okay, that's fair enough. That's good enough. So we look at this, and then if we look at this image, right? Look at this picture of Bowie, this picture of Andrew Garfield. I'm going to make it bigger for you guys so you can really see it. So if we flick back and forth, he's got that very square head. He's got the nose. The ears are exact. Like, I would not be surprised if in a couple years they made a biopic of David Bowie and they wanted Andrew Garfield to play him. I would not be surprised. It's like Taron Egerton, right? Taron Egerton playing Elton John in the Elton John biopic that they did, right? I think it's called Rocket Man. And I still need to watch it because I love Taron Egerton and Elton John's cool. So the thing here is like you could have easily cast Andrew Garfield, right? Like what is Andrew been doing outside? Like since he's been away from Spider-Man, what's he been up to? Like one detective show, I think, maybe. So no, I think like Andrew probably would have jumped at the chance for this. So no, this is bullshit. You didn't need to do this. If you want to do something, just double fucking down on it and be like, this is a choice I, as the author, made. If you don't like it, there's the door. Okay, cool. Kind of like you had that energy here of like, I don't care. Watch it, make up your own mind. Okay, then why in here are you trying to justify it? Like, well, I cast them because I couldn't get the other guy. Well, you're telling me you can't find anyone else in the world that would even get close to looking like David Bowie. David Bowie's amazing. He has a very unique face, and he's a handsome man. However, you could absolutely find someone that looks like David Bowie. I just showed you Andrew Garfield. That's just one off the top of my head. So then, A Black Dream, what a great idea. I'll go back in time and suggest it to Neil Gaiman in 19... Okay, so this is like, I guess Dream is the character, and then the character... I mean, clearly, if you look at the panel, this makes perfect sense, right? You look at the panel, you look at these features, clearly, okay, fine, that's a one-to-one. Neil's got it right there. Cool. You can't be mad at that one, because it does look close enough to what the comic's supposed to look like. It looks, I guess. So let's see. Tim Tan. Visual imprint of Death is a pale goth chick with dark hair, just like the visual imprint of Dream is a tall, pale guy with dark hair. Debatable. I'll give you that the visual imprint of Death. Now, I don't know about the actual Sandman comics and the visuals too much, but to me, Death comes in whatever form that they choose, right? Or that you need to see. So an actual good example of this is American Gods. Let's see. What is his? Who's the guy? Who's the one of these guys? Is it the Mortuary guy? It's the same guy. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Yeah. Do they call him what do they call him? Mr. Jekyll. That's what they call him, or Mr. Jackal. So this is Mr. Jackal, and he is essentially the Grim Reaper for all intents and purposes, right? And I had no problem with this because it made sense. His name is Mr. Jackal. He's clearly based in some sort of Egyptian lore because when he takes people to somewhere, he takes them to like this desert and there's all the stars, like big nebula of stars, and you basically you walk through the door like you pick like he weighs your heart on the scale and everything. So very much like Anubis, right? And so that's why they called him Mr. Jackal. That's why he's and so it's fine. Like I wasn't expecting a white guy. I was completely fine with Death being portrayed by a black man here, because it kind of just made sense, right? And that to me is like, it's the same thing as like Jesus, right? And, this actually, like somebody posted that about Jesus. We'll get into that as well. But to me, the whole argument of like Jesus being race swapped is so funny to me, because it's like, it literally doesn't matter, right? What color Jesus is. And again, this has nothing to do with entertainment. This has everything to do with how Jesus has been portrayed by the church and has been portrayed by the church, and how he is generally represented in the West and so on. Do I think Jesus is white? Yes, because I'm a white guy. Does not mean that Jesus is white for everybody. And again, American Gods actually has a really interesting take on this, where in a certain episode, there's like a garden party with one of the ancients, like forest spirits, like one of the pagan gods. She's throwing this like awesome garden party, and like, I think it's like a good 10 or 12 people there are Jesus, just a Jesus of a different denomination. So there's like a Jesus that looks like a Hindu, like an Indian guy, a Jesus that's Asian, a Jesus that's Hispanic, a Jesus that's actually I think Hispanic Jesus got killed in a border crossing. I don't know. American Gods is a fucked up show. You need to go watch it. It's great. It's a really interesting show. But they have like all the Jesuses, right? They have multiple versions of Jesus. And that's my concept of it is Jesus, the point of Jesus is not the man, it's the message. It doesn't matter what Jesus looks like. It doesn't matter if Jesus was a man or a woman or this or that. Well, it kind of matters to be a man because he's the son. So son is very particular. But the point being is his message is what's important. Just like here. It doesn't actually matter what a character looks like. It matters what the character does and what the story is. The message is more important than the man. So, again, this, I don't think, now again, I don't know what they portrayed Death as in the comics, or Dream in the comics. I guess like Death is, I know for a fact, this pale goth chick with dark hair. That is absolutely what she looks like in the comics. And then there's Dream is a tall pale guy with dark hair. Now, for him to be pale doesn't necessarily mean he has to be white, right? The pale can just be like what people think of him as, and then it could actually be like, oh wait, here's it's black thing. It's such a jarring disappointment that Death is now a black woman, much like if Dream was made a black dude. Right. So I don't know if Dream is being made that. I don't know. It's as bad as a black King Arthur. That's an interesting concept in and of itself. The idea that King Arthur could be black, even though, because again, Anglo-Saxon, right? England, it just doesn't make any sense. But no, I mean, he, like, half of this is, again, he's not entirely right here, but he's not entirely wrong either, right? But, he's got a point. It's jarring, right? Jarring is the perfect word. It's jarring to see that, because it's like, oh, I wanted you to represent it this way. Why didn't you get, fucking... Damn, what's her name? What's her name? What's her name? Oh my god, my brain's stopping. What's her name? Oh, I love the actor as well, but I can't remember her name right now. From fucking Beetlejuice and Edward Scissorhands, and I don't remember her name, and I look like an idiot. Winona Ryder. That's what it is. I knew it was like a W something. But it wasn't like Wyatt, because Wyatt is not, a girl's name to my understanding. But no, like Beetlejuice, great. Winona Ryder's great. How old is Winona Ryder right now? Winona Ryder is only 50, and she looks fantastic. So if you wanted a pale person that could be a goth chick, I mean, she already played a goth chick in Beetlejuice. She already has that vibe. I mean, look at this and tell me that, like, clearly, what's her name? I can't remember the character's name. What is her name? Marcy? No. Is it? I don't know. Point being, not relevant. Point being is, you could have just gone to like Winona Ryder and been like, "Hey, we're casting, we're casting Death in the Neil Gaiman Netflix thing. We need someone who is pale and can look like a goth. Can we dress you up like a goth?" And she would probably jump at the chance and be like, "Oh my god, yes!" And she looks great. She looks great to this day. Like she's doing the Stranger Things and everything. She looked fantastic. So it's like, age isn't even a problem with this one, right? It's not like she can be doing kung fu flips and shit, right? To my understanding of the story. So no, I mean, the idea that you can't get someone that looks the way you want, or you can't, it's like, no. You just chose not to. And if you choose not to, it's fine. But you have to stand by that decision and be like, I chose this, please just watch it. It's not going to be that big of an impact, guys. It's not that big of a deal. The story's still intact. Okay, cool. But yeah, no, this is just stupid. This whole thing is racist and sexist and transphobic trolls. I don't know who's trans in the show. Again, I don't know, because I don't keep up with it, because I don't care. I was going to watch the show when I heard, hey, Neil Gaiman's Sandman. Oh, great. I never got to read the comic, right? I'm from a rural area, so I lacked the privilege of being able to go to a comic store or order something to my house, right? And I missed out on things like that. I couldn't read Neil Gaiman's Sandman. But now I had a chance to watch it. And I love, the screen. Like, I'm a big film guy. So it's like, great. That's awesome. I get to watch it. Like Ready Player One, right? I read the book after I watched the movie. Both are nice interpretations. But the movie's more fun, I have to say. The movie's actually more fun. And that's an instance of an adaptation making something better than it used to be. Because the book is fun to read if you're a nerd. But that's all it is. The story in the movie is much more compelling and interesting, even though it goes a little more PG. But let's see here. So they posted this image, which is somebody else saying, let's see, Darren Grimes. Who the fuck is Darren Grimes? I don't know who Darren Grimes is. I'm sure his Twitter will pop up if I look for it. Darren Grimes, he's a British activist, apparently? Same guy? Is that the right guy? Oh, let's check his Twitter. See if that's... Yeah, this is the same guy. Okay. Darren Grimes, a proud northerner. I don't know what that means. I don't know about proud. But what the fuck is that? I don't know what the hell is happening over in the UK. So yeah, this seems to be the right guy. He's talking about stuff. So let's see, border force. So he seems to be right wing. This guy does seem to be more right wing. How's Donald Trump not allowed on social media? But this is actually, what is this? Good question. Oh, it's an account I blocked. Yeah, sounds about right. Um, but yeah, so I guess they're mad that this guy's like right wing, and even if he's making a good point, they're like, no, he must be racist or whatever. And so again, he could be. From what I saw, it just seemed to be he might be right leaning, which again I don't really care. But he says here, Darren Grimes says Lenny Harry or Lenny Henry, Jesus. Okay, so Lenny Henry misses the point, right? So this is Lenny Henry saying that purists have to accept the elves. Like you can accept elves, but you can't accept black people. You must be racist. That's what Lenny Henry's been saying, and it's so fucking stupid as an argument. So most fantasy fans have no issue with casting black actors. Correct. It's when black actors are cast in roles that the author of the series has described as not being black. What's so wrong about wanting to stick to the author's vision? Correct. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with what he just said. But it's from him. And he's an other, and he's on the other team, right? So there's that tribalism where, Laura doesn't like Darren because Darren's in some other camp, and even if they're making a good point, you can't concede it. I've conceded when this person's making good points, right? So yeah, in conclusion, Lenny Harry absolutely nails the point. It is not and never has been about respecting the author's vision. It's about racism. No, it's not. It's about representation and how that is affecting the story. When your marketing comes out and the marketing is all about the first black female dwarf, I don't need to hear that 80,000 times. I don't need to be lectured at. I don't need the show to tell me all this shit. Why? Because I already know that. The people that actually need to hear it are probably not going to watch the show anyway. Okay? So why are you making the story bad? Why are you changing things that don't need to be changed? And, hey, Man of Steel 2? Hold on now. Side note, we talk about Man of Steel 2? Everybody just wants Man of Steel 2. No, I want Man of Steel 2. I like Man of Steel. Man of Steel wasn't actually that bad. It's like, yeah, but it's not bad. Okay, so then we get down to, we get past all the examples and we get down to the nitty gritty of what Laura wants to say. So this is Laura speaking, with their exact, like, what they're trying to say. So no one cares if hair or eye color or other physical characteristics are changed, and people are specifically upset with canonical blackness isn't changed to be more appealing to the white supremacist aesthetic. I don't know what you're trying to say with the last half here, but you're correct. No one does care about hair or eye color or physical characteristics, as long as it's close enough, right? Remember back to when I was talking about Tyrion Lannister. As long as it's close enough to what we expect of a character, people are surprisingly lenient with this shit. You have to go very far. You have to try to upset a fan with something, because a fan wants more of the thing they want. You have to try and go. You have to go out of your way to make it stupid and make it arbitrary and make it, pointless, right? To change it for no reason other than your own ego, right? That's the problem. If you get close enough to what I'm expecting, I accept it, right? This is actually like Legolas, right? You look at like Legolas. Legolas actually, his eyes change in like one scene, I think. There's like certain scenes in Lord of the Rings where Legolas on screen, he's wearing contacts, so he has these shiny blue eyes or whatever. And then later he's not wearing them. And I just remember looking at that as an argument, and I'm thinking, damn, how petty are you that you're going down to the man's like, is the man wearing contact lenses? Nobody's looking at his fucking eyes. It's not a close-up in that shot. It's like, dude, I don't care if his eyes are a consistent color. I care, would I have liked that? Sure. Can you go back now and digitally edit the film to make it look like that? Yeah, you could totally cut his eyes out and put him back in, and there you go. You could just put a little mask over it, have it track with the actor. Done. Easy. With today's tech, easily done. That's done in a week. It's done in 1 week by one person. Simple. But no, it's just like that's the thing is, yeah, as long as you get close. If you get close to what we're expecting, fine, we'll give it a chance. When you intentionally don't do that and then say, oh, anybody complaining about it must be an ist or a phobe of some sort, well, Are there going to be those people? Absolutely. There's always going to be some idiot racist or bigot or whatever fucking awful person opening their mouth to spew hate at people, right? That's always going to happen. The question is, are you going to lump the small percentage of people that act like that in with the mass amount of people who don't act like that? Because then you're saying anything criticizing it must be this other thing. Amazon just did this, where they took down reviews of the Rings of Power because they were like, anything under a 6 out of 10 must be, it must be a review bomb. That's what it is. So we're just going to turn off all of the stuff. We're going to turn off all the ratings for right now because people are telling us we're wrong. Well, hey, anyway. So, in conclusion, fuck every single bigot troll trying to add a layer of respectability to their constant, never-ending bitching and whining in attempts to force their racist, misogynistic, transphobic politics into our entertainment down our throats. Okay, I mean, that's ironic as hell, considering, like, entertainment was a certain way for so many decades, and it's changed into, here's this terrible female character. If you don't like it, you're sexist. Here's a terrible black character, and they're not terrible because they're black. They're poorly written, right? Here's a poorly written black character. If you don't like it, you're racist. Here's a poorly written trans character. If you don't like it, you're transphobic or whatever, right? Like, it's ironic that she's saying it like, oh, like the racists are the ones trying to take over media. It's like, no, it's kind of the other way around, where, whatever, like, you're just, it's coming from one side, then the other side is, like, upset with that, either legitimately or not legitimately, right? There's legit criticism, and there's bullshit criticisms that don't make any sense and are racism and whatever. But that's a fraction. That's, like, the actual fans like me that are upset with it for completely other reasons. It's not about, like, oh, is it a black character? Is that what we expect from Tolkien? Is that supposed to be in his world? No, it's not. Actually, funny enough, there are black people in Tolkien's world. In Middle-earth, there are a whole race of black people. There's a whole culture of them. They're in the South. they're past Numenor in the South. They just didn't write that story. They didn't want to write that story, so they wrote their own. They wrote the hobbits and the elves and the memberberries and the nostalgia, and then they crammed in the minorities and the female empowerment, right? And they were like, here, you have to accept this now. It's like, no, you could have just given me a story about the other guys and made the whole cast that way, and then it could have been like, oh, I get it. It's all of these people. That's why they're all here. Okay, but Laura continues here. If you really want us to believe you just care about the author's vision, then maybe don't get all upset when a black actor is cast to play a canonically black character. Correct? Or a non-binary character is cast to play a canonically non-binary character. Okay, cool. You didn't need to call people pathetic piss baby losers. Alright, yeah, that was entirely unnecessary. You had a good point, and you ruined it right at the end, because now you're sounding spiteful and hateful. You're ruining your argument. Your argument's right. I'll give you that. Your argument's right. You're just souring the ending of it by insulting people for no reason. That's gaining you nothing. You are gaining nothing in that situation. And yeah, I ended this thread with 2 conclusions. Consider it underlined twice. Okay, well, you're not underlining it twice. You're making 2 different points. You're saying that, all these people are racist bigots. Okay, whatever. But then you're actually making you're making some bullshit point of like, everybody must be racist, misogynistic, and transphobic, and whatever. And then you're actually making a decent point, which is, people that are upset when something that is supposed to be a certain way is the way it's supposed to be. Like, that's fine. We've been over that. The whole Rue thing, that you're completely right. It should only be that way. But anyway. Okay, so now we're getting on to the whole biblical angle. Footnote, a lot of jokes about Vizzini being one of those biblically accurate angels are very good. Right, that's what I was saying earlier. But also, that's kind of the whole point, isn't it? Exactly where was all the outcry about the author's vision when artists portrayed them as white, attractive humans? Well, here's the thing. The author of the Bible is an unreliable narrator, first off, because the Bible was written by, like, several people who were all, like, hang-arounds for Jesus. Those are the people that wrote the Bible. The people that wrote the Bible, all that is compiled from, like, anecdotes and shit and misheard stories, and and it's not to say it's legitimate or not legitimate or whatever, but the point being is this biblical take of an angel, right? It's just more like, oh, here, be not afraid, fucking with all the eyes. This is the more modern takes and the more like literal take of an angel. Whereby people didn't want to terrify people with Cthulhu monsters, right? Eldritch horrors from beyond. So, why does this exist? Why do we get something like this? Tell you why. Illiterate people. That's why. Back in the day, we're talking way back, we're talking centuries ago, right? Centuries ago, most of the world could not read or write. Now, that quickly changed once you got to things like the printing press and people started to learn to read because you could put, you didn't have to have somebody scribble something down into a very nice book that's very expensive, right? Which poor people couldn't get access to, right? This was before libraries and shit, right? So you had the printing press come along, and once you have the printing press, you could make all these newspapers and books, and you could take a book that would take a scribe, 3 months to make 5 copies of it because they had to hand write everything exactly the same, or copy it over manually, and you automated this process, so it's faster. So you just put the thing in, and go ding, 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 ding. You could make tons of copies, and that's where literacy came from. Was that you were educating the masses then because you were able to. You physically had the way to where you could teach people how to read and teach people how to write, right? And it could work. Well, the problem is pictures like this existed in a time before that or adjacent to that, where most people in these areas that did not have access to education, they could not read and they could not write. So when they would go to mass, right, they would be told. That's the whole point of preachers and priests and whatever that stand up at the podium and talk to you. They read from the Holy Scripture because you hear the word, you understand the story being told to you, even if you yourself cannot read it and cannot write it. The reason it looks like this is propaganda, right? It's for the illiterate masses to look up into paintings and stained glass windows and all of this. They look at images and they get an idea and they're like, I get it. The angels look like this. Or, and that's easier to do. What is easier to describe? Describe to a serf in the middle of England, a guy whose entire existence is farming in muck and garbage, trying to make potatoes in a field. You tell that man, hey, God's a thing and here's an angel. Okay, what's God? Well, God is all-knowing, all-powerful, he's everywhere, he's, so he's invisible. Okay, yeah, he's, you can't see him, but you can feel him. He's like the wind, right? Why do you make the analogy to the wind? Because you can see the effects of the wind, but at the time they couldn't measure wind. We can measure wind now, so it's a sort of a dead analogy. But the point being is, you make that analogy because it's the simplest way to, God is like the wind, right? You can't see him, but you can feel his presence, and you can see his works. You can see the effect he has on things. Okay, so what's an angel? Now, somebody asks you what an angel is. Are you going to describe a multi-eyed thing from beyond? Or are you going to describe a perfect, beautiful human with wings? Why do they have wings? Because they live with God above in the clouds. Remember, this was before people understood things like flight. We did not have hot air balloons. Nobody had ever gone above a cloud layer except on a mountain, right? So the only people who understood that, and here's the thing, even if you go up onto a mountain and see the clouds, to see clouds at that elevation, it's insanely high up. It is where, only a handful of people ever went. Was so high you would be over the cloud layer. Because when you go that high up, you tend to fucking die before you get to the top. So, that's why Mount Everest is such a bitch to climb. So, the point being is, these people didn't understand that. What they did understand is birds. Birds have wings because they fly. People that are beautiful, that have wings, well, they're prettier than everyone else around here, so that makes them different. And they have wings. That also makes them different. But to the farmer, everything is utilitarian. So why do they need the wings? Well, because they live in the clouds. They live with God in the kingdom of heaven, and he is above us, watching us. He looks down upon us. Heaven is above, hell is below. This fits the propaganda, it fits the narrative in the Bible. That's why, right? Where was the outcry about the author's vision when artists portrayed them as white, attractive humans? Answer: there probably was some, we just didn't hear about it. There was probably some academic that looked at the Bible and was like, oh, this isn't what they're supposed to look like at all. The painters are wrong. But these were usually commissions. These were like literally the equivalent of like going onto Twitter and finding an artist to draw your OC. This is essentially like because the people at the time who would benefit from having paintings like this and had money to pay for it, because again, people were literally like poverty stricken. Okay, they had no money. They had barely enough money to feed themselves and keep existing. That's it. Kind of like today, except we do have just a little extra so we can, go to Twitter and have an artist draw our OC. So this is basically fanfic. When you think about it, this is an alteration. This is an adaptation. This is a literal text-to-screen adaptation. This is because you put it on a window, you put it in a stained glass window, you put it in a painting, guess what? That's technically a screen. That's an image of some kind. Because movies are just moving images. That's why we call them movies. So, no, the idea of like, oh, there was no outcry with this. Yeah, because it's fucking biblical propaganda. We understand that this is biblical propaganda. Nobody cares that they look like this. This is not important. Hell, actually, like I like the Legion version. In the movie Legion, it's actually like it's a fucked up movie. It's actually kind of like Feast because it's all like in a diner, but also yeah. But the thing I liked in Legion was how they portrayed Gabriel and Michael, Michael and Gabriel, the archangels, and the come on, if I can get a good image of it. I get a good image of this. All right, yeah, that's fair enough. So this I believe is Michael. Is this Michael? No, this is Gabriel. Right, this is Gabriel, and then Michael's the one that came to Earth, right? Hold on. Who plays in not the show, the movie cast? Yeah. Paul Bettany, known now for playing Vision, played Michael in Legion, and then his counterpart was Gabriel, played by Kevin Durand. Which Kevin Durand's interesting to me because every time I see him, I think it's Elon Musk. He's Elon Musk like celebrity doppelganger. It's so weird to me. I forgot Doug Jones was the ice cream man. Doug Jones, a notable character actor, you'd probably remember him most for Abe Sapien in the Hellboy movies. And it's great. Anyway, point being, I always like this interpretation. The black wings, the heavy metal mace, the fucking the battle armor, the collar on the neck showing that they are slaves to whatever entity created them, And it's I like this interpretation the best, But again, if they made him black, would I care? No. Would I care? Now again, I don't know if Legion comes from a comic or anything, but if like again, it's like Mr. Jackal on American Gods. He is Death. Do I think of Death as a black guy? No. I think of Death as a skeleton, right? I think of it in the classic, most pure form of Grim Reaper, the ferryman, right? Charon, right? I think of that. But again, it's fine. That's my expectations. Here, when you expect an angel, you get this. Why? It's been ingrained in our society that this is what it looks like. So when I watch Rings of Power, I would expect, and again, I'm not watching it, but if I were to watch it, I would expect the hobbits to look like fucking hobbits. And what does a hobbit look like? Well, we already showed they are short people with curly hair in the animated version, which was god-awful back in the day. Then eventually we got to the Peter Jackson stuff, and Peter Jackson has set the tone. Whether you accept it, whether you like it or not, Peter Jackson's films have set the screen image, the screen design for Middle-earth. If your shit ain't looking like that, you have no point to making it at all, because you need to be matching that. It has to look like that. If it's not looking like that, then you're not really making Lord of the Rings. You're just making what you want to make. Anyway, then we get down here. Anyway, watch The Rings of Power. It's very good. The fuck it is. I have seen all the reviews for it. I have seen scene for scene reviews, moment to moment. That is garbage. Okay, this is a complete fucking lie. Right now, you're just lying. All right, Laura. Now you're lying. Yeah, you're fucking lying to people. It's okay if you like the show. Just say it's very good to me. Right? It's fine if you like something bad. If something's horrendous and you like it and you want other people to watch it, fine. But you need to clarify that it is not a good thing. It's not very good. It's terrible. You know. At least, like, you could have just said it's not as bad as everyone says it is. Okay, that's tempering expectations. That makes a little more sense. Also, a final footnote for those trickling in who are very upset by this thread. Now all of Twitter knows you're racist. Like that's some sort of own. And I love this because like this just reminds me of Dave Chappelle going, fine. You know, they told me I was canceled on Twitter. And I said, that's okay, because Twitter is not a real place. You know? Oh, shit. He tells it better than I do. Because he's just, let's see. Dave Chappelle, Twitter isn't real. It's, what is it? Yeah, Twitter's not a real place. I love this. This is so funny.
When it came out, a lot of people in the trans community were furious with me, and apparently they dragged me on Twitter. I don't give a fuck, because Twitter's not a real place.
That's what it is. They dragged me on Twitter, and I don't give a fuck, because Twitter's not a real place. Oh, shit. So funny. But no, yeah, this is the kind of petty, stupid shit, which is why I'm not on Twitter. This is why I don't care. Right? This is why Twitter is a fucking hell site of nonsense. Because you think that, like, oh, if you're upset, oh, then everybody knows you're racist. It's like, what? Like, alright. I mean, thank God that Twitter's not a fucking real place. It's just a website, guys. It's just a shitty forum. That's all it is. Oh, God. I wonder if people even understand the term forum and understand where the concept of a forum comes from. Probably not. Half the people on Twitter probably have no fucking idea. But yeah, so then this one's really interesting. Don't remember the right being, you know, right wingers kicking off with these casting decisions. Well, yeah, because again, as I went over with this is what we expect. So if Jesus is white in all of those paintings from back in the day, when someone's raised, this is right. Last Supper, right? My grandmother had Last Supper on a wooden plaque. And it was a very nice print of it on a wooden plaque hanging above the dining room table. Okay, it was in the kitchen over the dining room window. Like it was like a kitchen. It was a kitchen, but they put it. It's their house was interesting. It was built up from a hunting cabin into a big house. So the core of it stayed the same. So the kitchen, we had like the table was in the kitchen, right? Because the kitchen was a big open area, and they just put like a dining room table in it. And so over the window that would go outside, there was so when you're eating, you could look up and you'd see it if you were looking at the window. And I looked at that all the time. And that was my understanding of Jesus. So I grew up thinking Jesus is white. Why? Because his picture is white. So when I see fucking any of these guys playing Jesus in a movie, I'm not going to be fucking shocked. This is a pretty good one. There's a nice little tan here, right? Nice, pretty good tan there. Tan, right? You know, and a lot of these are more on the tan side. It's just, that is the cheapest looking shit. That's got to be from some, like, indie film or Broadway production or something. That's a cheap looking set of armor. But, you know, you look at all this, and actually, that's Willem Dafoe. Oh, yeah, I forgot. Willem Dafoe played Jesus at one point. His crown of thorns is huge. But, you know, you look at this, and the point is not in the skin color. I've been over this. I don't give a shit if he's white. I give a shit if he's got the beard and this. This is probably the worst interpretation, right? Not because of the skin color or anything, but because the beard is too trimmed. It's too perfect, right? I would say that this is probably my, you know, like penultimate. This is probably closest, right? Minus, you know, what is his name? Joaquin Phoenix. I believe that's Joaquin Phoenix, but Joaquin Phoenix not being tan enough for the role. But you know that's the thing is I would love to see a movie that somebody does. I would love to see somebody do a movie of Jesus, but every like you change out the like actor. Like you could do an animated film. I think it'd be great if you did an animated film of Jesus, 3D animation or 2D. Actually, no, 2D. Let's do 2D. 2D is fantastic. But every now and then, depending on who's looking at Jesus or what setting he's in, he takes on a different form. That would be cool because he's known to be mistaken for other people. He's known to not always look the way he looks because when he comes back after the resurrection, he comes to, I believe, Mary Magdalene in the garden. He comes to somebody in a garden. Phrasing. But the point being is he shows up at a garden to talk to somebody. I'm pretty sure it's Mary Magdalene. I'm pretty sure that's how the story goes. And he goes to speak with them, and at first they don't recognize him because he's the gardener, right? And there's actually a pretty good painting of this. There's actually an interesting painting. Where is it? There was one I remember being shown in art class. I think it was this one actually, of this scene from the Bible, where okay, it's not that great, but you guys get it. So Jesus is it this one? I don't know. There again, as you can see, there's multiple versions of this, right? Where Jesus comes back, and he's wearing the hat, right? And he's mistaken for the gardener, right? And she looks at him, she's like, "Who the fuck are you?" Right? Because she thinks like, "Well, Jesus is dead, right? We know he's dead, so you can't be him." It's like, wait a minute, it is, and and then there's I think it's Jacob the Doubter. Is it Jacob the Doubter? Is that who it is? No, it's Doubting Thomas. It's Thomas the Doubter, right? This is a great picture, by the way. I fucking love this painting. I believe it's a Rembrandt piece, if I'm not mistaken. I believe Rembrandt did this piece, correct? No. Rembrandt did this one. Whose fucking picture is this? I'm getting it confused with somebody now. Yeah, it's Caravaggio. Caravaggio is the one. Okay, because Caravaggio goes really hard with the light. I love Caravaggio style. I could, like, if I ever got good with painting and lighting, I would want to be doing Caravaggio style of lighting. Because just look at the way it all falls. It's great. But no, then there's Doubting Thomas. He's checking the spear. He's like, I don't believe you're Jesus. Like, here, look, here's the holes, and there's also, check the spear. It's like, he's like, whoa, dude, it's real. So yeah, you got that kind of thing of like, sometimes people don't believe it's Jesus. So it would be cool. It would actually be cool if somebody did an animated film of Jesus, and they did Jesus as a different race every time you look at him, depending on who's looking at him. Maybe he's talking with some guys on the Silk Road, and they see Jesus as an Asian man. And there's no, and they're just so in awe that they don't even like. Because how many times do you actually check what you're seeing against someone else seeing? You just assume they're seeing the same thing you're seeing, right? So you assume that the person you're talking to knows what green is as a color. But the shade of green that you see might be a different shade of green to them based on their eyesight. They might see that green as darker or lighter. But you assume they're seeing it the same way you're seeing it. So, again, it would just be interesting. Anyway, but point being, these are all valid. Just as valid as it would be if you made him a darker man. Now, I'm not saying make him a black man. I'm saying if you made it, a nice dark tan or like somebody on the lighter side of, being like a black man with lighter skin, right? Then yeah, sure, I could see it. That's fine. I wouldn't get mad at that. I don't know. I don't know what this gotcha of like, oh, Jesus always looked like this. I don't fucking care. It doesn't matter. This is a good one from this guy. Hard to find someone whose DNA is half God. But there's another point in here I wanted to talk about that really sparked me doing this, which is this one right here. This is the really interesting one. Is he makes legitimate points, and it's still sort of like disregarded or not discussed. It's like I have no problems with black actors playing elves or dwarves. What I don't like is Galadriel's characterization. I don't get why they had to make her a traditional fighter when her strengths are very clearly in magic, and in particular, divination, right? Divination meaning you divine things from the ethereal. You understand. You can see you can see into the future. You get visions, things like that. So she's a wizard, not a fighter. Everything he just said is accurate and not up for debate. Sorry to say, you can't debate that. That is exactly Galadriel is a magic user, not a sword wielder. So then there's this guy. So a guy making a very legitimate point gets ratioed, right? He's making a perfect, accurate point, and the guy that comes in with some joke, this isn't D&D. She lives to be 8,000 years old. She can do both. No, you retard. She can't. She is Lady Galadriel, okay? Of the Elven Realm. She is a goddamn sorceress, okay? And the only reason I even say sorceress and not just sorcerer or wizard or whatever, right, is because Tolkien had a very particular way of describing things, and, to him, it was man, woman. There you go. That's about it. So, I'm doing it out of respect for Tolkien to say that she is a sorcerer. Personally, I try not to say, gendered role things. Like, if I say a waiter, I just say waiter, right? Or server, right? I don't really care. It's just that. Actor. You might have noticed earlier I called Winona Ryder an actor because she is. Actor, it's just actor, right? Or performer if you prefer. I like actor. But actor, that's it. Actor. Or you can call everybody an actress. I don't care. But at least just be consistent, pick one word. Pick one word. Try picking just one word for those things. But no, this is just stupid. Like, she can do both. No, she can't. Canonically, no, she cannot. According to the writing, no, she can't. At this point in her life, no. Not happening. Yeah, at this point in time, she's lived through an apocalypse and 2 massacres at least. She's a bit more chill in the Second Age, and she'd be over a millennia old here. She can fight, but chooses not to, usually because it makes her sick. But hey, the show just started, let's see where it goes. It's gonna go right in the garbage, unfortunately. Like, it always goes downhill. Everyone's like, oh, let's see where it goes. Now, why should I? I always know it's gonna go in the garbage. So then, yeah, dude, Gandalf is a wizard, and that never stopped him from being a fighter. So he's referring to maybe the Peter Jackson films where Gandalf, has a staff, but he also brandishes, what is it, Glamdrel? What is Gandalf's sword name? Yeah, Glamdring. Yeah, Glamdring, Narya, and a wizard staff. Like, that's his shtick. This is the stuff he has, right? He's got, 2 staff of Galadriel the White. You got the thing. You got the big stick, and then you have the Glamdring sword, right? And that's the sword he wields around. It's a big fucking cool ass sword. And actually, I think it's specifically he does have it in when he's gray, but he tends not to wield it as much, except when it's extremely important. Like when it's big combat time, especially like fighting the Balrog, right? Like obviously, or the defense of, like when you have to absolutely whoop an army's ass or a big monster. Okay, cool. But that's what he's referring to. But that's who Gandalf is. Gandalf is an entirely different character. Gandalf is not Lady Galadriel. He's a wizard, yes, but he is not a wizard that uses offensive spells all the time. He is not one that can manipulate minds and all this with a thought. Lady Galadriel can. Lady Galadriel is OP when it comes to her magical ability. She can manipulate people's minds. She can read their minds. She can get into people's heads. She can fucking disintegrate people. I mean, Jesus. The shot of Galadriel in The Hobbit. I loved... Like, you want to see... You want to see Galadriel in The Hobbit? And I'm gonna have to fight this. I know I am. But god damn it, we gotta watch it because it's just so compelling. You want to see a strong female? You want to see Lady Galadriel at her height, and what she, looks like. Also, speaking of height, that's another thing that's so funny is Galadriel's supposed to be like tall as shit. Like she's supposed to be lanky and tall, right? A tall, beautiful woman. But the fucking they casted someone that's too short to be Galadriel. Oh, by the way, the actor for Galadriel doesn't like the fighting. Like, they had to train her how to fight, and she needed therapy or whatever. And I'm like, all right, really? We're doing this? You're gonna cast her as Lady Galadriel. You're gonna make Lady Galadriel an action hero, and then the actor you got to play Lady Galadriel is gonna be a punk bitch. Like, come on, man. You cannot like do that. Okay, but this is Galadriel in The Hobbit in let's see, Battle of the Five Armies, yeah, part 1. So this is when Gandalf is taken by Sauron, right? And this is technically this is the part where Sauron is undercover as a necromancer in Dol Guldur. Gandalf is not supposed to be here. From my understanding of the books, he's not. Again, did not read the books. Watched the movies. Thought the Hobbit movies were all right, not as good as the trilogy. There were clearly parts that should not have been in the film. But you know, and those parts got called out by fans, right? But yeah, this is the part where Gandalf has been captured by Sauron at Dol Guldur. His minions, you know, and so he's in trouble. A lot like the first movie. Yeah. Yeah. So it's a lot like the first movie where Gandalf is on Saruman's tower, getting his ass absolutely handed him, and you know he calls on the eagles to help him escape. But in here, he's calling for his fellow wizards to help him, right? And who would show up except Big Orc Boy? He's gonna come torture Gandalf and fuck with him because it's funny, you know. Aha. Yeah. He's just picking on him now, you know. God, Ian McKellen, what an actor. Love him. But it's just, it's so great. I'm gonna keep talking over it because unfortunately the goddamn algorithm will probably pick up on this and fucking hate me. But we'll see. And I'm gonna skip around a little just to make sure it doesn't. But yeah, we'll skip here, skip back, skip here, skip back, skip here, back. Is it transformative enough for you, YouTube? Okay, don't fuck with my shit. Okay, so he's getting bodied by this orc, right? This is a man. This is Gandalf the Grey. What do they call them? They're the wizards have a specific name. They're basically godlike entities, like condensed into like the actual like gods, like the elven gods and stuff. They sent Gandalf and Radagast, like Gandalf and the other 4 wizards were sent to Middle Earth to help defend it from the forces of evil, right? Because they don't get too directly involved, so they sent like these guys to safeguard it, essentially. And there's some proper name for it. I don't remember the name off the top of my head, but the that's the bit. So we have Gandalf. He's supposed to be a powerful wizard. He has gotten his ass handed to him by Sauron. He is now a frail old man because without his staff, right? Now remember, this is Gandalf the Grey, and you know, wizards in Tolkien's world tend to not do too well without their staff, right? Their staff amplifies their power. That's the whole point. But yeah, so he's defeated, right? He's getting his ass kicked. He's going to be tortured. Here comes Lady Galadriel. Notice her hand, so gentle, so fair. She doesn't push the gate, doesn't shove it open, she doesn't take it open, right? She comes in as if on the wind. He approaches. The lightest touch. The wind follows her. Look at her dress and her hair billow with the wind. She walks barefoot over stone. She's not even walking. She's gliding with elegance and this otherworldly just presence. That is why she is called Lady Galadriel. That is why she is a lady. Because she is power. She is destruction. She is as powerful as Sauron. Shit you not. In the lore, she can be just as devastating as Sauron. The only reason she's not is because of the oath she took when she's younger and how she is as a person, right? And how good of a person she is. Like, that's the point. Yeah. Gandalf is about to have his fucking hand taken off, or at least his fingers, right? We'll say minimum his fingies are going bye-bye. This is a man, now for the woke mob out there, for the woke weirdos that are defending Rings of Power, here's your scene of a man being in trouble and a woman having to come save him. And it's not terrible because it respects both characters. We understand Gandalf is in trouble, but he is an old man, and he is not as powerful as some of the other wizards. There is a reason Lady Galadriel is steeped in light and pure whiteness. Because in Lord of the Rings, your color as a not your color as in your skin color, but the energy you radiate has to do with your like magic level basically. So Saruman is Saruman the White because he is the favored of the wizards. He was seen to be the smartest and the best, or at least that's what the gods thought when they created him. They were like, "Look, you go, you know, like you're like the best one. That's why you're the White. You're the leader of the order. You are the most powerful wizard we have. You will lead them." That is why Lady Galadriel is seen in her glistening, perfect form. She doesn't need armor. She doesn't need this crap.
Come for Mithrandir.
He's come from Mithrandir. Mithrandir being, Gandalf.
And I will leave with him.
The confidence, the pure fucking confidence. Watch her.
I come for Mithrandir.
I come from Mithrandir.
And I will leave with him.
The littlest, head tilt. I have come for Mithrandir. I will leave with him. Like, I even over-exaggerated. I did too much. The tightness in her face and how she just pulls that perfect little, tiny little head tilt. Tiny little head tilt to accentuate what she's saying. Look at her face. The absolute disregard she has in her face. She looks at him. Look at this lip curl. Look at the eyes. Her eyes are glazed over. She doesn't give a shit. He is nothing to her. He will not even expend an ounce of energy. He doesn't.
If you try to stop me, I will destroy you.
The booming voice radiating through the halls of Dol Guldur upon the mountain. If you try to stop me, I will destroy you. That's all she had to say. And she makes good on her threat. She doesn't kill him. She doesn't defeat him. She doesn't remove him. She destroys him. A wave of her hand, and he is nothing more than chunks on the ground. Watch.
I will destroy you.
I will destroy you. Boom! He is done. That is with a single wave of her hand. She disintegrated. She fucking annihilated and destroyed this orc. And it was so much power, it radiated outward in a burst across the sky. It struck thunder. That is how powerful Lady Galadriel is. She doesn't need a sword. She doesn't need armor. She is Lady Galadriel. She is full bore picking him up. That's her physical strength. And look at her. Still graceful. Still graceful as ever. He walks calmly out with him. He carries him like a baby. Doesn't care. It's just like she comes to save him. She does successfully.
For mortal men doomed to die.
And she realizes what a speech. Also, the effects, you can say anything you want. Now, this looks pretty good because it's a double exposure, right? They're animated. They're not actually I don't think they're actually actors. They're CG models that are then overlaid into it. But it's using a classic double exposure technique, which makes it feel more ethereal. Earlier, it did this thing where the ghost came out, but it was like this smoke simulation. It looked cheap as hell. It didn't work. But this is classic. This is more like what we saw in the first films, where they did the double exposure. They did the simple, here's we're gonna fade it out, and it's real people, but we just put a green filter on it, and that's what makes it look ethereal. I would have liked them to be a little more green, but and these are obviously, for those who don't know, the Nazgul, right? The 9 king, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The 9 kings of men who, above all, craved power. And look at her. She's afraid. Why is Galadriel afraid? She's so powerful. We just saw that. Well, Galadriel is afraid because these are the 9 ring wraiths. They are servants of the Dark Lord Sauron and could only be here by his hand. This confirms her fears. For the last, several thousand years, it's been Yeah, it's been about 2,000 years. Or no, 3,000. How long has it been at this point in The Hobbit? I was there. 3,000. Yeah, I think Elrond says that he was at Mount Doom 3,000 years ago, which technically he wasn't. And again, that fucks with the narrative. But the point being is yeah, this is like what she's been fucking worried about this for thousands of years, and she thought they had defeated him, and he's back, and she's like, oh shit, I can't take this all alone. I'm, you cannot fight the shadow. Now you fade, right? Because she's overpowered. Or she's being overpowered by the darkness. She has one light alone in the darkness.
I am
Not alone. Now, enters Elrond. Not a magic user. An elven commander. A prince. An elven lord. He gets full regalia armor. I love the auburn look of his armor. That burnt orange auburn color. I believe that's auburn. I don't know. Point being, the point being is this sort of orangish armor, not quite gold, not quite bronze. It's very, very unique. I love it. But it looks exactly like all the other elf armor, but it just happens to be a different color because it's his. It's special.
Are you in need of assistance, my lady?
Are you in need of assistance, my lady? They come to help, not because she needed the help, but she kind of did. But also, they come to help because it's their duty, and she's their friend.
You should have stayed
dead. Now, from my understanding, the reason this scene, they did not have actual actors doing the combat was like they did when Aragorn in the first film fought the third film. In Return of the King, when Aragorn fights with the Ghost King, he fights him, sword to sword, whatever. The reason they didn't do that is because they couldn't get them all in the same room, and Christopher Lee, who plays Saruman, he was shot like on a plate in England, and this scene was completely in a different location, and like a lot of shit with the production happened, basically. So, that's why they're CG ghosts. It still works, though. It's still a great action sequence. It's still fantastic. Yeah, no, it's like, look at how cool it is. The way they hit him, and it has this orb around him that's protecting him from the hits. But only sometimes. Only a little bit. Only when he's ready. Only when he's ready for it. I mean, Elrond is going toe-to-toe with him. And they're trying to vanquish them, but every time they strike them down, they're coming back, And so this is, the Lady of Light and all this, and this. Great. Now, part two. Part two exemplifies it, right? So, part two, we have Lady Galadriel showing her ultimate power. Because in the end, it is not the blade, it is not Elvish blade, nor Saruman's magical staff, which can expel these forces for good. They must be pulled up from the root, right? They have to be dismantled from their source. That source being the necromancer Sauron. Oh! He brought him back with a kiss. Gandalf was dead, and she's so powerful, she brought him back to life with a kiss on the forehead. She shared with him her life.
Yes. The darkness has returned.
The darkness has returned. They're all on the same page. They all know what must be done. Yeah. And then here comes Radagast. Radagast being more of a point in the films than he was in the book. Like, he's a very big character in the film for some reason. But it's just cool to see all the wizards together. And it makes sense because he needs to... Gandalf needs to escape, so they, they take the wounded Gandalf with Radagast. Training his life. Notice how weak she is now. Because at this point, he can't even stand. Like, she was so graceful before. But now the darkness has surrounded her. Elrond is not a magic user, and Saruman is, sort of not exposed as much as she is, right? He's holding more to the physical world, where she is much more in tune with the metaphysical and the magical. So she's now, you know, down and out. She's and now she's pissed. She's like, nah, fuck this shit. She's going fucking, and of course, stream's unavailable. All right, we'll give it a minute before YouTube decides to stop being a fucking cunt. I have to wait for my stream to come back on because, you know, YouTube decided to fuck around and just decided that fucking 2 minutes. 2 minutes of this while I'm talking about it. I'm actually talking about it. It's transformative media. Again, YouTube, I will see you in court one of these days. Don't fucking tempt me. I will go find a lawyer. I will find somebody and I will take you people to task. I shit you not. Alright, so I have to wait for the stream to come back. It's temporarily been disabled. Are we ever gonna get the stream back? That's a very good question. I mean, it's still live. It's just temporarily unavailable. Stream unavailable. Fucking bullshit. Bullshit is what it is. I did on OBS. OBS is fine. Yeah, I know. Your team is in trouble area box. We detected copyright audio and video. Yeah, I know. But it's gone now, so god damn, it's just so stupid how they do that. It's so stupid. Because now I have to wait. Now I have to wait until I can go back in anything important. Because, I mean, what the fuck am I supposed to do here? Right? What am I supposed to do? I just sit here and wait. I have to wait until I see the stream back up, so I know that it's back up. I mean, Jesus Christ. I don't know what to do here. Like, I just have to hope that it's gonna come back. Finally, what to do here. So you guys will probably like see me bitching at YouTube in the VOD, which my favorite thing is how they will disable the stream, but it will still record that moment and it will save that in the stream VOD. So you will see it back without interruption, but you know, I don't know. Point being, back to this, I'm gonna start using images now because, you know, YouTube just wants to be a cunt, and one of these days, gonna bite him in the ass. Somebody like Elon Musk, who's got money and time, is gonna come along and be like, hey, you know what, YouTube, you guys are assholes. I'm gonna take you to court. Anyway, so here's Lady Galadriel. She's gotten pissed, so she is unleashing the full power of, you know, her being as powerful as she is, and it's you know, it's a losing battle. Like, everybody's freaking out. They're all beating each other's ass. It's like, oh no, Galadriel's down, and then here comes the fire and the great eye, and here is Sauron, right? And again, you know, something from the books that wasn't in the, you know, that there, or something in the film that wasn't in the books is that the Sauron, like, flaming eyeball, he's not supposed to be represented like that. But when you adapt it to a film, it looks way cooler if you have a tower with a flaming eyeball on it. And it doesn't actually hurt anything about the character. But yeah, so here's Sauron and his guys and all this shit. And it looks like we're screwed, right? Elrond and Saruman are ready to die to defend Lady Galadriel, right? And not to protect her because she's weaker, but to vanquish the evil. They will die in service of Middle-earth, right? But then Lady Galadriel says, nah. She goes full sea witch fucking just God. And she uses the light, the bottle of light, the magical shit. I don't remember what it's called. That later in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, she gives to Frodo, right? And which again, I don't know if that's in the books or not, but it's cool. So it's cool, so we do it. So she fucking yeets Sauron out of here with like some fucking. I'm not gonna play it because I'm scared to death of it. But she takes the light, she blasts it off. Here's Sauron being yeeted across Middle-earth. He's sent all the way back to Mordor. And so Galadriel, you know, has proven that she is strong as hell. Saruman, of course, pursues him into Mordor, and then that's what leads to his corruption, etc., etc. But look at how weak Lady Galadriel is after that. She has expended so much energy, right? And she didn't want to, but she had to. But you know, that's Lady Galadriel for you. That is who Lady Galadriel is. So no, she's not a sword fighter. The fact that she doesn't need the sword to fight. They shoved it into her hand. They forced her to act like a man because they think that the only way a woman can be tough is if she acts like a man. No, that ruins the character. She is her own person with her own fighting style and her own reasons for being the person she is. She is not just some fucking version of Finrod or Elrond or any of the other elves. She's not just she's not just a redo of Legolas, okay? That's not how it works. You know, and then this guy saying, oh, Gandalf's a wizard and never kept him from being a fighter. Yeah, but he's a wizard, right? He's different. Galadriel lived through all the wars of Middle-earth and was a leader in the rebellion of the Noldor. Why would you expect her to not know which side of a sword is up? I mean, she would know this, yes. I do not doubt, when she was younger, she would have done that. But in her older years, once she's past the whole rebellion thing, she basically puts her sword down. She doesn't need it anymore. Why? She is a goddamn sorceress. That's why. Let's see. Yeah, he is of the Maiar. Right. That's the type of wizard that Gandalf is. The comparison is ridiculous. That said, yes, Galadriel has both lived a long time and has fought in various wars. Elrond was no stranger to a sword either. Time and circumstance didn't really favor the passive elf. So again, I'm going to tell you this right now. Elrond was no stranger to a sword either. It's like, yeah, but Elrond was never, ever a magic user. He doesn't know that. He doesn't do that. That's not his fucking shtick, okay? He doesn't do that. He is an elvish commander. We see him leading the charge on Mount Doom in the last alliance of Ben and Elf. He leads the charge against Sauron's forces. He is standing literally shoulder to shoulder with his troops, arrows whizzing past his head. It's a glorious opener, which I wish we could watch. But the opening to the Lord of the Rings, you know, Peter Jackson films, oh, it's beautiful. The Battle of Mount Doom. Gorgeous cinematography. But no, it's this is the stupid thing, is people are misinterpreting Galadriel. It's like, oh, it's fine. She's a warrior. No, she's not a warrior. She's a sorcerer. There's a difference. Okay, she is a sorceress. She is a magical user. Come on, man. If memory serves, she was a warrior in the books before she settled in Middle-earth. Yeah, before she was in Middle-earth. Now she's in Middle-earth, the warrior shit kind of stops. After the rebellion of the Noldor, right? After that, the warrior Galadriel basically dies. There is no warrior Galadriel after that. She's like, you know what? I had enough fighting and killing and all this. I don't need it in my life anymore. It makes me sick. I don't like it. You know, and she devotes herself to the magical arts, right? You know, and that's what she does. She's not a wizard. Her power is innate. She'd be a divine soul sorcerer. And more importantly, there's nothing in the build that would prevent her having a soldier background. I think that's just sort of a joke about D&D, but, you know, there is something that would prevent her from having a soldier background. You know what it is? The fucking lore that Tolkien wrote. That's what prevents her from being a sword-wielding action hero, okay? Let's see. She's over 8,000 years old. I'm pretty sure she's tried out a few things. So it's basically people saying the exact same thing they already saw somebody else write, but they want to write it too for some fucking reason. I don't know what it's adding, but alright. Galadriel didn't become a wizard till she got her ring. You mean the one of the 3 rings given to the elves by Sauron? You're saying that Galadriel was not a magic user until Sauron gave her the ring. Okay. What the fuck? That's not a thing. Meanwhile, she was one of the Noldor that went with Fingolf into Beleriand, and almost certainly would have had to fight in the wars against Morgoth. Everyone did. Yeah. No evidence she fought in the wars. She's also not a wizard. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. This is multi-classing erasure. See, that's a good joke. I'll give you that one. But no, that's the stupid thing. He makes a legitimate point. Like, why make legitimate points? Why worry about, this is why you don't capitulate, Cocken. This is why, man. You gave them what they wanted. You said, I don't have a problem with the black people. You know, black people, black elves, black women, whatever, great. Dwarves, cool, whatever. Right? Well, but what about Galadriel's characterization? They'll still find something to fight you on. Because if it's not skin color, it's sex. Or if it's not sex, it's or gender or whatever. If it's not gender, then it's, gender fluidity or something. Or it's age, or there's always some other thing, or it's disability, it's infirmant, right? Like, my god, the fucking idea that Spider-Man, like, there's now going to be a version of Spider-Man in the comics, or some interpretation of a Spider-Man character that is a paraplegic, that does not have use of her legs. Like, Jesus Christ. And that's not to say that you can't have a disabled superhero. We have one. It's called Oracle. Oracle, Barbara Gordon, Batgirl, who was then, paralyzed and then helped coordinate all the superhero efforts on the planet by being the ultimate guy in the chair, or in this case, girl in the chair. No, okay. Oh, it's so fucked, And then somebody tries to make this comparison, like Wolverine is actually really small in the comic books. Correct. Nearly everybody in the Marvel universe is taller than him. Nobody cares that Hugh Jackman isn't. Right. Because that's Hugh Jackman in the X-Men movies. We understand they are two separate mediums. And Hugh Jackman's such a good actor that we overlook the fact that he's not, fucking tiny. Right? And again, this is an instance of, do you want to hire Hugh Jackman? Or do you want to hire somebody who would be short enough? Because you want somebody to be short enough, you basically have to cast somebody like Danny DeVito. Go ahead, off the top of your head, think of someone who matches the height requirement of Wolverine. Think of one actor, any actor, right now. I can't think of one. I can't. Right? Tom Cruise, maybe. Right? Tom Cruise maybe could have done it because he's actually a little shorter in real life. But again, it's pointless. There's literally no point to worrying about Wolverine's height, And again, just the same as there's not really a reason to worry about somebody's skin color as long as the story is good. But the problem is when you put the skin color out there and you say, we're going to do it because of this, and if you don't like it, you're therefore, this sort of ist or phobe. No, I can hate the product without hating the people in the product, right? I don't have to hate somebody on the basis of their race, their religion, or anything else. I don't have to be some sort of bigot to not like your show. And again, we went over this with Reva, where they intentionally made the character of Reva, right? And she's clearly a ripoff of Second Sister. I mean, we all know she's clearly like, and that's a perfect test of like, people like Second Sister in Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Why? Because the story is good and the characters are compelling. And that is a non-white female character. And then they did the same thing in Kenobi and nobody liked it. Why? Because the character is poorly written. It has nothing to do with, the thing. And I've made tweets about it before. I've talked about this before. And Laura comes in backing it up, right? The OP comes in to back it up. I was going to use Wolverine's example of the ridiculously bright costume and his wilder hairstyles versus the Hugh Jackman version. Yeah, did you notice how they tamped down everybody's costumes and everybody's hairstyle in the X-Men movies? But aside, 1, stick to fantasy. 2, to be fair, comic book characters change looks all the time, even in the comics, so it's not quite the same. That's why. That's why it doesn't make any sense. Because the way one artist draws somebody might not be the same way that someone else draws them, right? Even if it's still technically on model. They might be, they have a certain style to them. So you can think of the X-Men movies, or any superhero adaptation, as, as long as it's like the same archetype of person, the height, whatever, that can all be kind of tweaked. Again, how far can you push it is the question. What is the limit that the fans will accept? You have to get close enough. What is Wolverine? He's Canadian, he's white, he's male, and he has claws made of metal that come out of his knuckles. And what do we see Hugh Jackman play in X-Men? A Canadian who is white, who is male, who has metal claws come out of his knuckles. It's everything people are expecting, and the only difference is, yeah, he's not that short. Okay, but he's a new interpretation. He's what the movies expect. So now here's the kicker. If they did cast somebody shorter, or more likely digitally shrunk him, right, in future movies, if they digitally shrunk whoever's playing Wolverine next in the MCU, God, I cannot believe the mutants are going to be fucking under the Mickey Mouse thumb. I just remembered that, and it made me sad. But the point being is, now, going forward, if you do that, people will look at it and go, wait, why does he look like Hugh Jackman? Because it establishes a new pattern. It establishes a new look. It's what people come to expect. This thread is all of the truth. If you can't watch a TV show with people in it who don't look like you, that makes you mad. It's a you problem, not a them problem. The irony and hypocrisy here is fucking hilarious. Because the whole point is that they're doing race swapping and gender swapping and all this because they want to put somebody in there that looks like them, you know? That's the whole point. And, you know, little background for you guys. I've mentioned this before, but do you know who my favorite superhero was when I was a kid? Static Shock. Virgil Hawkins, the black teenager from the inner city who had electric powers. I shit you not. I didn't want to be Richie. His friend Richie, I didn't give a fuck about Richie. Why? I already was Richie. I was already, you know, a guy with bad eyesight, and you know, I already had bad eyesight. I didn't have his looks. Richie had it going on. He had the costume and everything. He looked great. But the point being is, I was already the white nerdy kid that was into math. Okay, I didn't need that representation. What I was looking at was the hero. Who is the hero? Who's the main character in Static Shock? Static. He is the main guy. And I didn't care that he was a black guy. I didn't care that he was from the city and I was from the country. It didn't matter. It didn't matter if the person looked like me or not. Okay? I didn't need him to look like me, right? I wouldn't care if every person going forward in every show and movie ever was now suddenly black. All the casting was black. If it just went completely the other way. Would I want that? No. But I wouldn't care. As long as the characters are good. Well, I just watched the Equalizer series. And I loved the Equalizer. And you know why? And why I like the Equalizer with Denzel Washington, even though the Equalizer is supposed to be a white guy. The reason I didn't mind it was because Denzel Washington is an amazing performer, and he plays the character of the Equalizer perfectly. Okay? And not once, when I watched both of those movies, not until they were over, did I look at that and go, oh, I was watching a black guy. That hit me afterwards. I was like, huh. The one thing I didn't think of when I was watching that was, man, Denzel Washington sure is a black guy, isn't he? Because that's how you're supposed to watch a movie, guys. You're supposed to watch something without considering the skin tone of the person. You're supposed to be drawn into the story and overlook things like that. The problem is you can't overlook it in Tolkien because it's a key part of Tolkien's world. People who are white, people who are black in Tolkien's world. It's as simple as that. You don't need to change that. And if you are going to change that, why didn't you make all the hobbits black? Why did you make only some of them black? Wouldn't you have taken the browner skin, right? Wouldn't you have taken that literally and said, you know what? What if all the Harfoots were black? What if they were that version of the hobbits, you know? And then something magical happens along the way, you know, maybe when they reach the Shire, then, you know, they're not, because this is still thousands of years. So maybe you look at it and go, oh, well, something magical happens to the hobbits along the way, and they go to a lighter complexion, you know? They're, like, that's the only way you could explain it. You'd have to say that the Harfoots, either all the black ones died, or they didn't reproduce. Because if they did, we would see the darker skinned ones in the films and in the books in Lord of the Rings. So, see what the problem is? Now you start putting them in. Now you have to wonder, well, what if we take them out? And then this is the part where everybody goes, oh no, it's not connected to the movies. Well, if it's not connected to the movies, why does it exist, man? People love the movies. You couldn't connect it to the movies? Okay, then why are you making it? What was this waste of money? But no, this whole thing of like, if you can't watch a TV show with people in it, I would love to frame this. I would love to get this on like a business card, and every person that like I come across in the real world debating this shit, if I ever do, I would just slide in the conversation and be like, hi, I think you need this card. Just hand them that. To be like, well, why can't you race swap it? Here, that's why. Because you don't need the character to look like that. Y'all want to know what my favorite Star Trek is? You want to know? It's not the original series, even though it's quite campy and fun. It's not The Next Generation, even though Jean-Luc Picard is amazing. It's not even Voyager. I love Voyager. It's not even Voyager. Even though Janeway and the rest of the crew and Tuvok's fantastic, right? And it's not Enterprise, even though I thought Enterprise was a very nice action take on Star Trek before it got ruined by the Abrams verse bullshit. No, it's none of those. My favorite Star Trek is Star Trek Deep Space Nine, a station run by a black man who the story centers on him. It makes him literally Black Wormhole Jesus. Like, that's literally a plot point in the show. And you know what I didn't think when I was watching that movie? Man, Avery Brooks sure is black, huh? No, I was thinking, wow, Captain Benjamin Sisko is pretty incredible, huh? He's kind of a interesting guy. He's a little goofy sometimes. It's rough watching that first season. I'll tell you that much. The first season, trying to get a read on Sisko as a person, he was just kind of a one-dimensional character in the beginning. You know, he had some depth to him, but the way he played it, his performance, it was just a little off. They got it halfway through like season 1. They really started to nail down who Sisko is and how to play this more serious than the other Star Treks. And they got dark. DS9 gets dark with its story. Because it's just that's what it is. The Dominion War is like the best fucking serial like narrative ever in Star Trek. It's incredible. It's where Enterprise, like you look at Enterprise, it really figured out those arcs of episodes were really amazing for Enterprise because they had like the Romulan thing that was like a 4 or 5 part thing, right? They had like 5 episodes of that. There was nothing but that, you know, continuing that same story. You know, and then you had like, or you had the oh, there was another one. There was the Romulan story, and then there was the Andorians with the season 3. I think all of season 3 was about the not the Xandu. What do they call them? I don't know. There's some excuse me. There's some group of aliens that are all like different types of things that evolved on the same planet. So it's 5 sentient species from the same planet. And it's really interesting. But they have like a whole season that's based around hunting them down and getting to the bottom of why they attacked Earth and all this shit and trying to get them to stop. And it's the whole season's about that. It's not about adventuring off and having fun, wacky adventures. And each episode is a little different, but they still have that one main goal. And that's what made Enterprise so great. But, you know, it's amazing, right? These shows and everything. Like, it's so great to see, you know, all that. But no, DS9's my favorite. Static Shock is my favorite, right? And contrary to popular belief, this does not dictate who I can and cannot find as my hero and who I can and cannot accept as a character on a screen. Okay? You know, identifying based on your race makes you a racist. That's literally because you're putting the skin color first. You are saying that only people like me can represent me, right? And only people physically, visually like me. I'm sorry, but that sounds a little fucking racist to me, don't it? But damn. Yeah, I agree. If you can't watch a show or read a book unless the people look like you, and so you have to inject people into the story that look like you to feel validated, it's a you problem. He said exactly what I just said. He said exactly this over again, and watch people disagree with him. Yeah. It's the fact that we've always watched media with people that don't look like us. Is it such a problem to want to see someone like you when all your life you never have? If you cannot find a character in a movie or a show that you relate to, you've got a problem. And it's not with the character, it's with you. Because you lack empathy. You cannot sympathize, you cannot empathize with the character. You can't think, what must it be like to be that person, right? Do you think I watched Black Panther and thought, wow, you know, all this like Wakanda stuff, wow, that's crazy. Anyway, no, I was like, wow, what's happening with T'Challa and the state of the world and everything, and you know, Chadwick Boseman playing this. I mean, you know, what are the struggles of this man, you know, and having to be king and that pressure, you know? Like, that's what you focus on. You don't focus on the goddamn skin color. Let's see. Agreed the entire point. Never really cared about character skin color. Blah blah blah. I have one question though. It is said in the thread that, for example, Ron's height, Hermione's teeth, and Harry's hair and eyes were plot points. not extremely important plot points, but definitely important part of their characterization, the way they interact with other characters in the plot. It's similar with race in real life, your skin color, blah, 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 blah. If a white character is played by a dark-skinned actor, and there are no changes in the characterization made in that regard, isn't it quite wrong, insensitive? Our flag means death. Oh, here we go. We're referencing Taika Waititi's work. Oh, joy. Approaches this issue in a fitting way, I think, or so I've read. Historical racism isn't a big plot. Okay? Does a horrible job. It takes actual slave owners, ignored their history, and turns them into appealing characters. Yes, because as we know, all racially motivated slave owners must have been absolutely abhorrent in all of their life. They were just monsters. Remember, they were just monsters. You know why you tell people stuff like that? You know why you think like that? Because it makes it easier to dehumanize the enemy and to say that they're an other and that they're different, right? You know, why do we look at the Civil War the way we do? And again, was the South wrong? Absolutely. Was racial slavery wrong? Was any kind of slavery wrong? Absolutely. No question. Absolutely wrong. Definitely. But when you look at the Civil War and how it's portrayed, you see, you know, you've got your, like, all the South is always portrayed as these racists and all this and whatever. Then you get a movie like Free State of Jones, where it shows that not everybody in the South was inherently racist. You know, most of them were. A lot of them had that upbringing, but not everybody was. Some people just wanted to live their lives and be left alone, right? So that's where the propaganda came in and was like, oh, look at the door. Because in the South, you know what they called it? They didn't call it the Civil War in the South. It's called they would refer to it as the War of Northern Aggression. They viewed themselves as the victims, you know, oh, how dare you? Even though, like, according to all legal doctrine, like, the South was violating trade treaties and shit. Like, there was every reason for the North to go to war with them. And it wasn't actually, like, slavery was part of it, but the actual, like, legal declaration came from the fact that the South was illegally trading with other nations when it was not supposed to be doing that. The United States was supposed to have all powers of that vested in the Senate. The Senate was the one to tax and appropriate and import and export. So yeah, that's why they did it. It was business. It was just business. It the whole racial thing, and again, racial thing in America. But the point being is, you know, even some of those people weren't absolutely awful people. Now, I will draw the line, and again, I've drawn this line before. I draw the line at a Nazi, because you know damn well when you're a Nazi. You know when you're a literal goose-stepping, Hitler saluting Nazi, okay? That's wrong. If your idea of a good time is let's go eliminate an entire race of people, okay, yeah, no, I don't agree with that. You will get no sympathy from me in that regard, right? Only good Nazi is a dead Nazi. When it's a literal Nazi, not the way people throw the words Nazi and fascist and authoritarian around today, thinking it makes a point. Not those ones. When you show me a real example of a guy waving around a swastika saying all Jews must die, that guy's a Nazi. Okay? And I'm probably going to get in trouble from YouTube for saying the no word. But yes, Nazi. Okay? I said it. Big fucking deal. It's a word. Moving on. But no, it's this kind of shit. This is why I made this. So we can talk about screen adaptations and this and that. And, you know, it's just all this shit of people supporting it blindly. And this is why I'm off Twitter. It's a goddamn echo chamber of nonsense. It's a hell site. It's just, it serves nothing. If you're on Twitter, just get off Twitter. You, trust me, you will miss nothing. This is the only thing that happens on here. People get mad about shit. That's it. People just keep getting mad about shit. Oh, what the fuck is happening with the Borg now? See, I'm getting mad about it. Let's see. The Borg. We're just talking about the Borg. What's this here? We're going to talk about politics. What the fuck? What the fuck is going on? What does this have to do with Borg? What? Yeah, this is just some weirdo being anti-COVID. Okay, whatever. Fucking god, assholes. Yeah, they want to punish and hurt you for not being part of the Borg. As if taking a vaccine and wearing a goddamn mask makes you, like, oh god, man baby. Now that's a man baby. No. Oh god. No. So even when we're talking about the Borg, which should be a fun topic to talk about, Star Trek, the Borg, you know, the the implications of humanity and transhumanism. Nah, fucking nah. Somebody got to ruin it. Somebody got to be in there ruining it, getting all negative about something has nothing to do with the Borg at all. So weird. But no, I mean, there's all that, and then Ready Player One's actually something else I wanted to talk about before ending the stream here. But there is in Ready Player One, right? We have the movie and the book. Okay, and funny enough, they actually have a version of the book that has the art is from the movie, but the book is the book. It's not from the movie. Yeah, it's weird. Um, but yeah, I think the one I have is I have it on my standard. No, I have Armada. I have Armada, which is Ernest Cline's other book. Which honestly, Armada is a way better read and way more interesting than Ready Player One. Not that Ready Player One's a problem. It's a great film, and I hope Armada gets the same treatment. But Armada is a very interesting book. If you guys only read one book from Ernest Cline, don't read Ready Player One. Read Armada. You can watch Ready Player One. Ready Player One, watch like the movie. The movie is fun. The movie's a nice 8 out of 10. It's a pretty good time, right? It's pretty fun. I mean, I watched it 12 times in 2 weeks, right? Like, I watched it back to back to back. It was great. Like, first time I saw it, I then watched it 50 more times. It was like I watched it till I got sick of it. I'm still not sick of it. It's great. Love it. But the thing with Ready Player One is that it changes some things. And do I think these changes were necessary? No. And that's what brings down the score for me to like an 8 out of 10. There are some things like the movie's a little shorter. It probably could have dealt with more of a part 1, part 2 thing, or even a trilogy of films to sort of stretch out the runtime. But again, it's a nice succinct story. It's very fun to watch. I think personally the whole disfigurement thing, I never really understood that angle because they didn't make it really like they could have made it way worse in the actual film. I think I've talked about Ready Player One before, like specifically the thing with her eye, the birthmark she has. This is right here. It's even hard to tell in the picture because it's such a minor makeup job. It's this she covers it with her hair. It's this like red splotch that goes around her forehead here and then down a bit onto her cheek and then up through her eye socket here. And it's not that bad. It's not really a horrendous scar of any kind. It's just like, oh, you have a thing with your face. All right, big deal. It's not like Quasimodo, like morphed eye or something. I feel like that's what they should have done with it. Is make it a grotesque. Her face is scarred and beaten and destroyed, and it's like, oh my god, her eye is messed up. And but it's fine. It doesn't really hurt it too much. And Ogden Moore or not Ogden Moore, Jesus. Fucking damn it, my brain. My brain. I've seen this movie a million times and I've read the book. I know this character's name, I swear to god I do. There's Ogden Morrow and James Halliday, that's it. Jesus Christ. Can you tell it's late? Can you tell my brain's fried? But no, James Halliday here. James Halliday gets a very interesting interpretation in the in the film versus the book, because it's just in the book he's more suave, he's more interesting, he's more aloof and mysterious, whereas in here he's brought down to a very human level, and that's what Spielberg is good at, is that personal touch, that human drama. He's very good at showing that, and I think that's fantastic because they portray him as this sort of autistic, antisocial personality in that, not that he has a problem with people, but that he just doesn't relate to them. And that's why he builds the Oasis. It's his message to everyone else, right? It's how he communicates. It's the piece of himself he can leave behind for others to enjoy and to interpret in their own way and to be what they want to be. He built a place where people could be free from, the stigmas of the world and so on. That he built his own universe, and that's why. He built a game. He built the game for that reason. But no, the film. So a lot of this is different, right? So let's go over this a little bit. So a lot of this is different. First off, I think they gender and or race swapped. I'm not sure for H. H being here. It's not actually spelled H, it's ACH. It's a word ACH, but it's pronounced H like the letter. And the reason it's pronounced H like the letter is because her name is Helen. But in the book, Ready Player One H. Yeah, AE. Oh, I'm sorry, AECH. Helen Harris. So in the book, I think it's different. Yeah, is a girl. Yeah, H's avatar is an athletic white heterosexual male. H is played by an African American lesbian named Helen Harris. No. That's the movie. I want the book. I want the book. God damn it. Let's see. H book. Yeah, I want to see her in the book, right? H, one of the Gunter, best friend, Parzival. Yes. Okay, but is H a boy in the book? Yeah, that's the thing. Is I swear when I read the book, it was different, right? The movie bungled what should have been one of its biggest reveals. I don't fucking care. I don't care. It wasn't bungled. I don't care. It's just H. H is the supporting best friend. It's not. H does not have that major of a role in the book. I will tell you right now. H is just H. We're talking about Lena Waithe's character. In the virtual reality Oasis, she's known by her male avatar H, right, which is this guy, right? Which is really cool. There's a bit in the beginning of the movie. I think I'm gonna watch the movie tonight after I get off stream, just because it's so good. But there's a bit in the beginning where they're on Planet Doom, or not they are, but H is on Planet Doom, and she's running around and doing the thing, and that big midsection piston you see like down here, it actually like they get shot at, and it separates, like her midsection separates to dodge the bullets. And again, that's something that's cool that you can only do in the film. You can't do that in the book. You know, you can't. You're gonna explain that. It's not gonna sound as cool, you know, as what you would see on screen. Let's see. Go away, stupid ads. Jesus. Okay, so then there's H, Parzival, yada yada yada. Okay, so Ernest Klein, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I'm trying to confirm if it is a change. I know some things were changed from the book. Like a good bit of it got changed. Quotes. I don't want quotes. I want in the book. I'm trying to figure this out. Who played H? Who is H based on? Yeah, Helen Harris in the fandom. I think it's just the same page. Okay, what kind of? Yeah, in the book, H's avatar is a tall, broad-shouldered Caucasian male with dark hair, brown eyes. So I think this is a much more interesting interpretation because it's not just some white dude, right? First off, that's boring. And there is a statement there to be made about fitting in and all that. But I think this is cool because it shows the personality of the Oasis, right? And that's a good change from the book, right? That's when someone changed it. And again, Ready Player One was produced by Steven Spielberg, directed by Steven Spielberg. Like, just they did the movie, but they did it with Ernest Cline being in creative control. He was allowed to veto things he didn't like. He chose for the story to be adapted the way it was. He was okay with it because he understood that his book was not as interesting as what they wanted to put in the film. And he was like, yeah, that'll be more interesting. Do that. Great. Wade once asked H if his avatar represented a real life appearance. H responded, yes, but in real life, I'm even more handsome. I remember that joke when I read the book. I remember that joke. I remember giggling to myself. I thought it was a neat little joke. Because that's H's personality. H is, confident and cool, and H is H, H is hip. Outside the Oasis, H is a heavy-set African-American girl, right? She has short, kinky hair, dark skin, yada, 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 yada. Yeah, so so H wasn't actually changed, but there are some things that were changed, right? So I'm just talking about the things that were changed. So H is H, right? Artemis is still very much Artemis with the birthmark and everything. That's very much her storyline. Wade is different because Wade actually in the book starts as an obese character because he doesn't really get too active. The whole treadmill thing wasn't really a thing for him. He had more of the sit down model or something. Or hold on, no. I'm getting this. Am I getting this wrong? I don't know. Anyway, the point being is he was fat. He was fat before he got all the money and he won the first challenge. And then once he got the money and everything, and he moved up in the world, and he did that by like selling goods and stuff, and sponsorship deals and the whole 9 yards. And there's a lot more like of that. He's more of a playboy and more of an awesome figure than the simple Gunter that he is in the film. But I like him more as the everyman Gunter. I think it works better. But in the book, he starts the fat guy, then he gets the money, and then when he can afford to, he starts eating better and exercising more, and that way he's not this pudgy weirdo, right? That's just sitting there. he has this whole chair set up and everything, and he gets lean. He gets lean and mean and fit, you know, and that's just part of his character arc. So that's something that changed. Is he's just this guy now? He's what's his name? What is the guy's name? I know I've seen him at least one other thing. Ty Sheridan. What have I seen Ty Sheridan in? He hasn't been in much, but I swear to God, I've seen him somewhere else. Fuck, have I seen Ty Sheridan? Let's find out. I know I recognize him from something other than right. Oh, that's right, Apocalypse. He plays Scott Summer in the X-Men Apocalypse movie. Right. That's what it is. Okay. Anyway, point being, he's just Ty Sheridan now, right? They didn't do the whole fat people thing with him. They didn't have him be fat, which would have been interesting to have him sort of in a fat suit, be that type of guy, and then he changes. Again, if you had a part 1 and a part 2, you could have done that, but you had time constraints, and it wasn't necessary. Him being fat had nothing to do with him as a character. It was just part of his arc. It wasn't really, there. But a lot of the super dystopian gross stuff got changed with the PG rating, and I think that's fine because it made sense. You didn't need it, right? You didn't need, Wade going to IOI and whatever, because he's more of a Mary Sue in the book. Shit you not. Parts of all, Wade Watts in the Ready Player One book, he's got skills beyond himself. He's like super, everything works out pretty perfectly for him. Like, everything's just like fatalist in the book. It's very fatalist. And it's that, like, he's basically destined to be the one, rather than being the Gunter that he is that actively pursues the challenge. And he just happens to get these clues and happens to figure it out. Not through, not through happenstance, but because he's researching. He's understanding the person that James Halliday is. That's the whole point of the story, is understanding. And so the core character is still there. And they can change anything about him visually. They could have made Wade Watts a woman. Hell, that probably would have gotten an uproar. But you want to make Wade Watts into Winona Watts? Sure. Why not? If it's played exactly the same, I'll take it. Why not? I wouldn't be opposed to it. Now, I would be concerned. I'd be highly concerned because, like, why are you changing that? That's an arbitrary change. But don't upplay it. Don't be like, this is female empowerment. I don't fucking care. I care if the story is there. That's what I care about. Then you have Daito and Sho. Or is it Sho and Daito? Which one's which? I'm pretty sure it's Daito and then... No. This one's Daito. The samurai is Daito, the ninja is Sho. Yes, this is Daito. There's Daito, and then there's Sho. Wow, he has aged up since that movie. He is done a bit. Also, Hannah John Kamen, or Kamen? I don't know. Finale is not in the book. She's a character made up for the movie, and she's awesome. I love the character Finale. Just because she's this no-nonsense fucking evil henchman. It's great. But yeah, so we have Daito and Sho, and in the book, Sho is actually murdered, I believe. It's either Sho or Daito. One of them gets murdered. I'm pretty sure it's Sho. So Sho is actually murdered by IOI, and that's the big reveal thing. So in the my brain. Basically, Nolan Sorrento in the book gets arrested because Wade does this convoluted plan where he breaks into IOI. Like, he hears that Sho got murdered. He knows IOI has a kill team file. Like, they sent a death squad in real life to break into Sho's apartment and throw him off his balcony to make it look like a suicide. That shit's morbid. Now, would I have liked to see that? Sure. If you had like a part 1, part 2, and it's a really dark take on the universe, I'll take it. But, that would have to be a very mature version of the thing to show. But again, it's not really necessary. So, do I think that's fine? Yeah. The thing I actually had a problem with was when they made Daito and Sho into, like, basically little kids, or at least Sho is. Sho is like, he's like 10 or something. And I didn't like that because it's like, look, I get it, the kid angle. I understand it's cute, but it just kind of makes the character less cool to me that like show is not, as hip and cool in the game. But again, that it at least played into the like appearances are deceiving, and who you are. You are who you are, regardless of what your real life counterpart is. Like that's the whole point, is that the Oasis is separate from reality. But in the end, they actually accept reality, and they're like, okay, I'm making a new rule for the Oasis. We're closing it on Tuesdays and Thursdays, or Mondays and Wednesdays, something like that. It's like two weekdays out of the week. It's the Oasis is closed. You're not allowed to log into the Oasis. You have to get out, touch grass, essentially. Like he basically says, hey, go touch grass, guys. You need a day off. Everybody needs like a day off from the Oasis. We're too sucked into this, which is a really nice message. And I wish people on social media would take that to account and stop plugging themselves into it 24/7. That's why I try to stay off Twitter. That's why I try very hard to stay off Twitter. So I don't end up with shit like this. But you got Sho and Daito, and again, they get changed to kids. But Ogden Morrow plays a much bigger role in the book, and I'm glad he didn't, because it makes it a much more personal story. It makes it a much better underdog story when they're not getting assistance from Ogden Morrow, because again, that violates the rules of the tournament. He's not allowed to help, except he kind of does in the movie. He kind of does. He's the curator, and he gives Parzival a quarter, which then is like an extra life, So he's technically cheating, but it counts because Ogden bet him, something that he knew was wrong. He intentionally took a bet that he knew he would lose so that he could give Parzival the quarter and it would count, right? And again, these are scenes I would love to show you guys, but I can't because YouTube is a bunch of cunts. But just go watch the movie. It's great. And understand that, like, what I would recommend is, if you have never read the book, but you have seen the movie, or even if you haven't seen the movie, go watch the movie, right? That way it's fresh in your mind. Then give it a week, go read the book, right? Go pick it up, get a nice hardback or something. It's a decent it's a decent novel to have on your shelf, and go read that. But if you're not into the whole video game angle, go get Armada. Armada is great. It's a whole thing about virtual reality, fighter simulations, and this, like Ender's Game type thing where this alien armada is coming to destroy Earth, and there's this secret government program they've been running to try and train people for it. It's an awesome book. Ernest Cline's Armada is a fucking fantastic book. If you guys want to see, if I can find the book. No. There's something called the Nissan Armada. No, thank you. You can't call something an Armada when there's one of them. It's just a fucking SUV. Whatever. Yeah, but Ernest Cline on Armada. I think I have this version. No, actually, I have the better version. Sorry. No, this is one version of it. I think this is the hardback. This is like the hardback cover. Is this thing? I have this version. I have unfortunately it's in paperback, but I have this version where it's, if I can get this to look, it's only $12, guys. You can get this for $12 on Amazon. Don't get it on Amazon, but for $13 on Amazon, you can get the hardcover of it. Get the hardcover. You want it in good shape. But I have this version, which is like it's the paperback version, but it has this cover. I would recommend this cover because I think it looks cooler. But Armada, it's so funny too, because I remember picking up Armada after I picked up what was it? Okay, so I had, I'm trying to think when I did this, because it was a while ago. It was after I watched Ready Player One. I was so interested that I went to the library on campus, and this is back when I was at school, and I think I rented Ready Player One from the library, or I checked it out rather, rented. But I checked that out and I read it, I think, because I don't own Ready Player One, the book. I know I don't. So the funniest thing is I read that, and then I went back to the library and I didn't get this cover. I found the hardcover of Armada, and so I got that one. And then the funniest thing happened is once I was done reading that, and I didn't really feel the need to own it, so I didn't buy it. Then what does my mom get me for Christmas that year? Armada. Or was it Christmas or birthday? I think it was birthday. I think it was during the summer. And it was so funny because then like a week after I finished with Armada with reading it, she's like, "Oh yeah, by the way, here's a present I've been holding on to, because this is when I was not living with them. They were, in another county, and I went to visit them for the holidays. And they're like, "Oh yeah, by the way, I had this, here." It's like, "Oh great," So yeah, it must have been Christmas then. But then I just had to laugh because I had just finished with Armada, and I had been telling her I wanted Armada, but then I went ahead and read it, and read it. I checked it out from the library on my own. Anyway, the point being is Armada's great. It's this whole virtual reality thing, and it's awesome. Now the thing is not virtual. It's a whole. Just read the book. Just read the damn book. Okay, it's great. But yeah, no, this is a perfect thing to end on. Is that Ready Player One? Okay, and let me clip this. I'll make this good so we can clip this, and I'll just keep this up here. Okay, so we're gonna clip this in 3, 2, 1. Okay, so Ready Player One is a prime example of what I'm talking about when I say that you can adapt something from a book and change things as long as it's necessary to the story. In Ready Player One, there are minor character things that are changed to make the film more interesting. There are puzzles. There are challenges in the game, or in the book, I should say. In the book, the games are changed into different challenges for the movie. Why? Because they're more interesting to look at. That's why you should be changing things. Not because of somebody's skin color, not because of somebody's gender, just because you want it that way. Change it if it needs to be changed to be more entertaining for the viewer. Okay, that should be a pretty good clip there. Anyway, that's it for this stream. I think I'm done. I think I've kind of made my point very succinctly here. And essentially what this boils down to is Rings of Power is shit. Adaptations need to have a reason to be adapted and changed. If you're changing something in a story, always make sure you're doing it for a reason that serves the story. If you have something in your story that doesn't serve the story in some way, shape, or form, if it's just a fun little side note or something, or you think it'd be good, but it's actually distracting from the story, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to take it out if you want people to like your story. Otherwise, that's going to be a hurdle for them, and every time you put up a hurdle, less people want to run on that track. Okay? Anyway, that's it for the stream. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, do the usual. Like, subscribe, check out my streams. I will see you guys in the next video. Reaper the Rager, signing off.